Welcome to Bonehead.
Did he freeze up on you too, Joe?
He froze. Yeah, it literally, he got out, hey, and then it froze.
Hey,
and then it sped back up.
Joe had a
Bonehead
stroke.
Part 2.
Hey, you guys.
Bonehead Part 2. Bonehead 90s Part 2.
Electric
Boogaloo.
Boogaloo. In honor of our good friend, who I hope still occasionally listens, Mick Strawn. Can we call him Nicholas? I know it's not his name, but like Nick, but Nick would be Nicholas. Can we call him Nicholas Strawn? That sounds like he would tell
Nicholas
the future.
Mickleby.
That sounds like he would tell the future, right? Like you would call an 800 number or a 900 number, I'm sorry, to hear the great Nicholas tell your future.
Nicholas Mickleby.
And then I just want Big Strawn screaming into a phone, "You're gonna die!" Click. Because
eventually, I think that's coming.
Yeah, I mean the future. So that would once again, Mick, if you are listening and want to do that plan, we'll record that commercial. Joe can direct.
Oh, I'm retired. All right, guys. So we left off on June 30th.
Which was so
before we get into that, we need to talk about something that has happened today that we recorded. We have 2 big birthdays today. Did you not know this?
No,
it's not Newton. Newton was born on Christmas, and he invented them figs.
The first one, Gene Wilder. Today would have been his birthday.
Why do we celebrate birthdays of dead people? I'm serious. I never quite understood that.
In all honesty, I and this is going to sound terrible. I look back in history at people that they do have birthdays for, and honestly, Gene Wilder probably did more for me than some of those people.
Well, yeah, I get you there. All right, who's that?
Adrian Barbeau.
All right, Adrian Barbeau
is 76 today, guys.
We saw her 10 years ago, and she didn't look a day. Adrian looked good 10 years ago. I know that sounds awful. I know we're 3 guys, but Adrian Barbeau looked absolutely stunning that day.
For those of you that don't know, Adrian Barbeau was the inspiration for the Barbeau bots.
C-Lab 2021.
4 people are going, C-Lab.
Never forget.
I want to be a Barbeau bot. I don't think that's possible, Chief.
All right, anyway. June 30th.
Yeah.
So June 30th, for those that need just a quick reminder, we left off on Wiki Wiki Yo Yo Bang Bang and a foul-mouthed 8-year-old. So South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, and Wild Wild West came out.
One of those was better than the other.
So are we ready to jump forward to
And
July?
One of them had Selma Hayek.
That's true.
Selma Hayek gonna go save Selma. Me and Artemis Crab Frog gonna go save Selma Hayek for a big metal spider.
Artemis Crab Frog, correct me.
Oh,
all right, guys. What's the next one?
July 2nd, which is the Friday, which is June 30th, is awful close to. That being said, so those are midweek releases that ended.
Did you get that pork chop out of your teeth, Joe?
I get it. I'm just sitting here making weird faces at myself.
To our YouTube, to our audio listeners, Joe is picking his tooth with a toothpick while James
No. It's not even a whole toothpick. It's like a little splinter. See? Not the Ninja Turtle splinter, a very small.
Oh my God. That would be good though. Like if you just shove a rat that knows Kung Fu in your mouth, he'd take care of anything stuck in there. I bet.
He Kung Fu'd that plaque right off.
Yeah. Yeah, just one of them high yas. Anyway,
by the way, I would have paid $50 if Joe would have done that, and a literal whole pork chop would have found with the camera.
I don't actually think that.
Norberg, you got something?
You got something on
the side of your face? No, the other side.
It's Al.
It's
actual. You can't actually do that. But keep going, James.
So July 2nd, which would have been the actual weekend after those early releases, we get not a bunch of movies that people remember, but there's one that I actually was like, oh, you know what? I need to go back and rewatch that. So here they are, just quickly. Summer Spell.
Nope.
Nobody cares. Broken Vessels.
Nope.
Elvis Grattan 2. I have no idea.
No clue what that is.
Hote. No idea.
Nope.
But the one that I was like, oh, nobody actually talks about this movie, and I haven't seen in years, so I probably should give it another chance. Summer of Sam.
Yeah. That's one of those excuse me, one of those movies that I think that and Clockers I think I'd appreciate more now than I did when I saw them.
Yeah. So directed by Spike Lee.
Am I getting this wrong in terms of history? Wasn't Summer of Sam like his first venture out of a more diverse cast, like a lot more Caucasian? There was a
was Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody, Mira Savino, Jennifer Esposito, Bebe Neuwirth, Patty LuPone, Anthony Paglia, Ben Garazza. Yes. So yes, Chad. The answer would have been yes. But I haven't seen it. I think I saw it once, maybe in the early.
I'm with you.
Early odds, and I probably just need to see it again.
Yeah, I need to see it again.
Now that I know more, because I've actually seen more actual documentaries about that and what it was like. So I probably would appreciate having.
Because the movie's really not about. It's not really about.
It's not about the serial killer at all. It's about the tension that was happening
and the tension. Yeah. In the
the one part I remember is it John Leguizamo, where basically, and it probably is one of the other cast, and I just don't remember, but in my head, where she dyes her hair.
Yeah.
And because there was the belief that he would only kill people, and he has the male actor in the scene has the line, "It feels like I'm cheating on you with you." Yeah, I don't know what that scene I remember.
No, though that and the other Spike Lee film is Clockers, and I feel of those ensemble casts, right?
Yeah,
and I feel like I didn't quite grasp them then. And I wonder if how my opinion had changed now watching them.
I will say this. I actually legitimately like Clockers and still do. I watched it several years ago again, and it still held up for me. But Summer Sam was, I watched it and I'm like, this is good. Like I'm a Spike Lee fan, but I watched that one. I'm like, it's good, but I kind of left it. I never rewatched it because it didn't leave an impact on me. So maybe we do need to rewatch that one.
Was Clockers remade and directed by Jonathan Frakes? 4 people.
No, that
joke was for 4 people. None of them watched this show.
James,
I've actually never seen Clock Stoppers.
I'll see you in court, both Spike Lee and Jonathan Frakes.
Hey, 2 Takes Frakes is a nice guy. All right, next one.
All right, you want to talk about a weekend of counter programming? We're going.
I thought you were going to say. I thought you want to talk about Weekend at Bernie's. I'm like, no.
No, that wasn't 99.
I thought he was going to say debauchery. So we're all 3 on a different page.
So July 9th, the weekend of July 9th, we get a couple of independent films. Late August, early September, Genghis Bleu, Le Diner des Cons, Conte d'Oman. But the 2 films that people might have a chance of remembering, again, you want to talk about counter programming. Arlington Road against American Pie. Let's just sit down and watch those in order.
Well, I watched American Pie, I think, the weekend it came out, or at least right around that time.
I didn't see American Pie till it was out on video. I was not part of that. I didn't see Arlington Road either, by the way.
I liked Arlington Road
later. Yeah,
I just saw it later, but I'm saying this was not.
I didn't go out and see either one in the theater, no, because neither one was my cup of tea at the time. Even though Arlington Road did have Tim Robbins and Jeff Bridges in it, for God's sakes.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I actually enjoyed. I forgot the name of it already. It's so fucked up.
Are you talking Arlington Road or American Pie?
I forgot the name of American Pie. It literally slipped my mind. But I actually enjoyed American Pie when it came out. You got to remember, we hadn't really had one of those what I would call, and I'm going to defend a little bit, what a fairly decently well-made teen sex comedy would probably have been Porky's, since we'd had something that was that successful and that caught on that well. I mean, 80s are chock full of teen sex comedies, but I don't know that anybody remembers Screwballs.
No. Well, I was about to say, and also it's a sex comedy, but it's got a little bit of heart to it.
It does. It has a little bit of heart of it. Now it has what would be considered a scene that wouldn't be made today.
Yeah. But it also, it wins out in a couple different ways because it has, the cast is pretty good. You have
it's a good cast.
You have Biggs, Hannigan, Sean William Scott.
Most of those people went on to have pretty long careers.
And they're still active.
That's what I'm saying. Most of them are still out there.
Yeah. Goon 2.
There you go.
Electric.
Now for Chris Klein is the only one who doesn't. I haven't seen anything in a long time.
No, he was in The Flash a few years ago. He played the villain.
Oh, really?
He played. I'm not joking. It was the cicada. I think.
Yeah. I never made that connection, but I watch it with my son. So
this is off topic, really quick. John Wesley Shipp may be one of the nicest folk I have ever met.
I told you.
And by the way, James,
none
of it's fake, as I can tell.
No. What now? Did he go into the history of his name?
No, we're not. Now we're talking about 1999. It's just quickly on my brain I just wanted, because I know you're a fan and your son's a fan. I just want to let you know, behind the scenes, he wasn't any different.
We went to his panel which I think John did, right? I think John.
Yeah. I'd never met him before.
But when he met Silas was all pumped to meet him. I saw her. I'm gonna meet Flash. I'm gonna meet Dad's Flash, and he's Flash's dad now. And I mean, it's all I heard as we went to the Lexington Comic-Con when he was there. And I kid you not, we got up there, and he had not stopped babbling. And as soon as he saw him, Silas was starstruck. Because he's like, "Hey, buddy, what's your name?" And Silas was like, and there was literally a man. Silas, I finally went, Silas. His name's Silas. He knows you because I told him you were the Flash when I was younger, and he now knows you as the Flash's dad, and he loves that. And I showed him mine, and he was like, "Oh, that's your Flash." And so when you were announced, that's why we're here. And he literally, and it was about 30 seconds after I explained that, Silas literally went, "My name's Silas." and he was nothing but great to Silas. And I mean, Silas was younger, obviously, then. I guess it's been several years ago now. And then he actually talked about how his dad was a preacher, I believe. I may be misremembering, but actually that fought for civil rights. I'm like, this is a genuinely good human being. How did he make it this far in Hollywood? So
no, just letting everybody know, I don't think it's a fake.
No, I mean, nobody could put up with my son that long and be fake. So anyway, so we get American Pie and Arlington Road, and you're going, well, what are you going to follow that up with? Well, we get 2 Wednesday releases on July 14th. And again, you want to talk counter programming? Well, let's see. Let's say you find out there's a company coming out with another Muppets movie. Let's say Muppets from Space. And you're like, what? We don't want to go against the Muppets. What could we possibly put out? Oh, we'll just put out the Blair Witch Project. By the way, in my mind, I want to picture a pair like, they're sold out of Muppets. I'll just let them go see this other movie.
That came out on a Wednesday?
Came out on Wednesday. I did not know that.
I saw that a Friday night at Fugit's with my mom.
So we get
not
that.
Not that anybody cares, but it's one of the.
The insanity. Yeah, the insanity of the release of that movie, where every theater was packed day after day after day of seeing that.
Well, Chad, it's hard to explain to anybody now.
Yeah,
because you kind of had to live through it, and the internet, it just was of its time. By the way, I actually think it's a good movie. I think I really like it. I don't rewatch it often, but it's so hard to explain to someone who didn't experience that. Don't you think that's harder to explain than some other movies?
Yeah, I agree, and that one's one of them. And
people just believe those people were dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the entire. It was viral marketing. Right? The Sci-Fi Channel did an entire documentary about the film before the film came out. Yeah, about the search parties and all. And I remember watching that, going, "Is this real? This isn't real." But it was even if you knew it was fake, it was fun to buy into.
And I'll be honest with you, when I saw the movie, I saw it in the theater in a packed room with some friends in a packed theater with some friends from high school. And a couple of them had already seen it multiple times. And I'm like, why would you go see this multiple times in the theater? And they're like, we just loved it. It's like, okay. I watched it and I'm like, it's good. I didn't really see why it was scary. I cut to that night. I go home. I'm laying in bed, complete darkness. I wake up. I swear to God, somebody's sitting in the corner. I run out of my room, literally run out of my room, heart beating out of my sweating. Granted, I was a fat ass then, so that explains the sweat. But
what's funny is, it turns out that same night, I didn't know Chad yet, but I found an open door. I went in this guy's bedroom, sat in the corner, just to see what would happen.
So yeah,
by the way, you could buy some Funyuns.
I've never had a movie have a delayed impact on me, and that's that. It's weird that movie did that to me, because I watch it, I'm like, it's okay, I enjoyed it, and then I didn't get freaked out until hours after.
Different, and it did it to me. It had the delayed impact. I had a nightmare. We were talking about this the other day, of movies that we gave us nightmares later. Like, Zack Snyder, I will give him credit. Dawn of the Dead. It was okay when I watched it. It's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. Just said never been called Dawn of the Dead. It did give me a nightmare that night, which never happens. The other one, which actually was bad, gave me bad nightmares, was Blair Witch. It did the same thing to my mom, which is the reason why I brought it up. And I'm glad Chad told that story, because my mom and I both had the same thing. I don't think she enjoyed it or particularly got it, but it did affect her subconsciously later on. And that movie was so different. You just never seen anything like it in the marketing campaign. And it was, like James said, one of the first things to ever go viral. It's just hard to explain how people believe those kids were missing and dead. And this is true.
Well, and I was about to say, and the other side of that,
I don't know that it can happen again.
The other side of that was I went later because I know why. I can tell you how I remember when I went. I had just became a resident advisor. So we started training in early August. So I went and saw it right away, but it was at the Kentucky, and the Kentucky was doing midnight showings. So after a day full of RA training, a couple of people got together and went, hey, before we start being on call, let's walk down. And if you're familiar with where the Kentucky is compared to UK's campus, we walked from what used to be Blanding Tower, which is on the furthest you could get. And we walked to a midnight showing of Blair Witch. We're watching it. And it affected. We were all watching back, and like we had one of our RAs was a non-traditional student, and he was even saying, "Yeah, it got me. Let's walk back quicker, guys." And I can remember, and it was cool because we saw it as a group. Most of us went. I was in a staff of 20, probably 14 of us went. We're walking back. It's getting to us, and then what got me? So I go back. We just moved into this building as new RAs. I'm on the 11th floor top. Of course, no students are there yet. So you hear every pop, every creak, and you don't have an explanation for it. None of that got to me. Somebody we went to the movie with went out that night after we got back and got sticks and put those stupid figures hanging down in front of all of our doors. Next morning, I got to get up and report to training. I get up at 7:00, shower, all that stuff. And I open the door and it's right there in my face. And I was like, okay, you got me. That was good. And that's what was cool about it to me, because it was a shared experience.
And that movie's made of duct tape, clear plastic tape, and sticks. There ain't much there if you start breaking it down.
And what kills me, that
balls.
And here we are, 22 years later?
Yeah.
If I'm out this correct. And people are still trying to capture that first person style. And in my opinion, most of them fail. George Romero, for God's sakes, tried to do it.
Everybody's
tried to do it.
The only probably one that's come close is, what do you think? That and I don't think it still had the cultural relevance, but it was a big hit, and it was a huge. What's the Cloverfield? It's probably the only one that's kind of even come remotely close.
You can call it Cloverfield. I'm going to say Paranormal Activity is the only one that's come close.
Oh man, Paranormal Activity.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't even.
Paranormal Activity isn't first person though.
Well, it's security camera footage.
It's security. I mean, it's
stuff.
But
no, I agree. Those would be the ones.
Do you think, by the way, that's part of the problem though, is that none of those, like, I guess maybe a little bit with Paranormal Activity, they could pretend, hey, this is true. But Cloverfield, we know it's not, because I'm like, no, New York's still there.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is about Cloverfield is that, I don't know if you guys remember, it was a huge hit, and I saw it that weekend, and it was packed, and people were excited, and that was another one of those viral things.
Yeah, that's where J.J. Abrams' group really, that showed like, and they have tried to do that every single time. Every time a J.J. Abrams film movie comes out, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well. But I think Cloverfield made me sick. Blair Witch didn't. I mean, I remember I had to close my eyes. I had to get up and walk out for a few minutes.
And which was funny, because that was one of the big complaints about going to see Blair Witch, is it'll make you sick.
It never made me sick.
It never made me sick, but a lot of people did get motion sickness from it.
And I know we've got to roll on.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, those are the Wednesday releases: Blair Witch, Muppets from Space. Guess what came out 2 days later?
I can't imagine.
Okay.
Because you had American Pie and Blair Witch come out within a week of one another.
I didn't know they came out that close, because they were both big hits.
They were mega hits.
It's going to get more complicated, folks. So, movie nobody remembers, called Divorced White Male. Nobody cares. The Velocity of Gary. Nobody cares. I'm Losing You. Nobody cares. But 3 other movies dropped that weekend that made some impact. One is The Wood, comedy about the guy getting cold feet and his friends and reminiscing about his friends from childhood, which was a modest hit on a very small budget, Omar Epps, et cetera, et cetera. But the two other films that people still talk about today that played off of Muppets from Space and Blair Witch projects and made some money, Lake Placid and Eyes Wide Shut.
So I know what I went and saw that next week because I sat in the theater watching Eyes Wide Shut by myself. It
wasn't empty.
I saw that,
and
I was 21 in the theater watching Eyes Wide Shut.
I watched Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, I went to the I don't even know. I don't know the trendy theater in my hometown to go see. Well, outside of my hometown to go see it with a couple of friends of mine, and then we were all guys, and I was like, we watched it, and then we were very close together, and then there was the whole orgy scene where there's a very muscular man dancing with a very little dude, and I'm just like sitting here in between, squished between these two guys, going, I think I feel a little uncomfortable.
Huh. Seems like I remember Nicole Kidman being topless, but I can see, Chad, that something grabbed a hold of you there.
Honestly, guys, when I have an appreciation for Eyes Wide Shut now. I was bored to death with it when I first saw it.
I really liked it.
I'd probably need to watch it again because I don't remember anything other than it was quote unquote scandalous, and I wonder if that still feels the same in these days of Eyes Wide Shut.
It's odd. Some of these movies don't resonate with me, but Eyes Wide Shut did. I always thought to me, it's a movie, and I don't know that Kubrick intended this, but to me, it's a movie about choices and making bad choices and how those choices, you're just going to bring them home with you. I mean, the mask at the end of it, James, you may not remember. Chad, do you remember it's in the bed when he comes back?
Yeah.
And he could have had sex with a prostitute who was HIV positive. To me, that's what it's all about. And how you deal with your relationships and truth and growing. I mean, my problem with the movie is Tom Cruise. I think his performance is very wooden, and I think Tom Cruise is a better actor than that. I don't know what Kubrick was going for with that performance, because I know that that's the performance Kubrick would have wanted, because he didn't stop shooting.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is a better actor than that. I those choices, it's such a wooden performance. I don't understand why he did that.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm checking it right now. That movie was 20 years in the making. No, 31 years in the making, because he bought the rights to that book in 1968.
Yep. And it's also, I think, is the Guinness Book of World Record for the longest shooting continuously shooting film.
Yeah, because
I know you all saw it.
Harvey Keitel was cut out, and then they later replaced him with the director
Sidney Pollack.
That was Harvey Keitel's part. Jennifer Jason Leigh was the hooker. She was cut out when they went back to reshoot.
I know you all talk about this, but you're completely overshadowing the fact that we got to see Betty White say that she hoped that the Gator won.
It's a movie I had no desire to see, that I caught later on video and enjoyed.
Yeah,
but it is not a good movie.
No, it's not.
But any Betty White line is great.
Betty White and Oliver Platt make that movie.
No, did you leave your husband down here?
Who are the other two?
I gotta argue. So yes, Oliver Platt and Betty White make that movie, but you know who gets no credit for his performance? Brendan Gleeson is phenomenal in that movie.
I got to go back and rewatch.
Oh, you've got to, especially because his and Oliver Platt's interactions with one another, because they're two amazing character actors. And Brendan Gleeson, he never cracks a smile. He does everything straight faced. Every line he talks, he's actually acting like he's pissed. Everything that he has to do, it's amazing. I just had to throw that because Brendan Gleeson and Oliver Platt and Betty White, all three make that movie.
So that is
Pullman.
And can we do one side story real quick? Because I was looking up as you were listing movies. One of those we kind of ran through real fast. I gotta see. It's called The Velocity of Gary.
Yeah, The Velocity of Gary. Yeah.
So
it made $34,000 upon release. Tell me about it, Chad.
Well, it's got a 4.9 out of 10 on IMDb. But ex-porn star Valentino and Gary are in love with each other, but Valentino also has a girlfriend. Tragedy hits them when Valentino collapses and is hospitalized with AIDS. Okay, let's listen to the cast. Vincent D'Onofrio, Thomas Jane, Olivia d'Abo, and Selma Hayek. I got to see this movie.
I agree. Thomas Jane is hot. What?
And actually, it's got Keegan Delancey and Chad Lindbergh.
Not Chad Lindbergh.
I don't know who Chad Lindbergh.
Keegan Delancey is, of course, John Delancey's son, who played the young Q's son in the show. Chad Lindbergh, you have watched him in shows such as Supernatural.
Oh yeah, he was Ash. He was the one with the mullet. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he's also friends with our former guest of the show, maybe future guest of the show, Ken Boggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you should totally pay attention to social media.
Also, Lake Placid's only 75 minutes long. I didn't look it up, but it is a short ass movie.
It is.
It's not quite The Rock's Walking Tall short though. 70 minutes, folks. Which is about what it needs,
brother. It is close.
All
right. Let's keep
ready
going.
to go on.
Yeah, waiting on you.
So we're a week later. We're to July 23rd, and by the way, let me tell you what.
Oh Jesus Christ, we're not even in fall yet.
No.
Real quick, the ones that came out: Young and Dangerous Parts 1 and 2. Never heard of it.
What?
Rosie, My Life So Far. But here and Bureau Basta. The ones that I did know of: Trick, Inspector Gadget.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
And the two that I actually want to talk about, because Inspector Gadget was a modest hit, but The Haunting, which I did see in theaters.
I did too.
It's a pretty movie. Don't think about it.
It's an awful pretty movie.
It's a pretty movie.
They
did some stuff with it. The sculptures in it are beautiful.
Bad movie.
Just don't think about it. But the other one I want to talk about, which was not a big hit when it came out, but I think kind of has cult status now, and I've seen it multiple times. I've rented it later on something called a VHS. Drop Dead Gorgeous.
So I saw it on VHS later too, and that's one. It is a cult film. I never understood why, and
I am right there with you.
I think I'm not the target audience. All right. By the way, I saw The Haunting in the I must have been living in the theater in 1999. Boy, those were the days, bud. Those were the I can't get to see, even before COVID, I would get to see shit.
No,
but those were the days.
No, I was about to say, this was
one weekend after another. I can remember being there. That's awesome.
I went from seeing about 2 movies a year, if I was lucky, to this was my beginning of my college career.
Is this when you were starting to come out and go to college?
Yeah. So I went to a lot of movies.
Well,
but by the way, if you've never, it's not all about sex, Chad. Beautiful, beautiful man. Anyway, but if you've never seen Drop Dead Gorgeous, it's a small town beauty pageant where there's a murder.
Yeah.
And it does have a great cast. You get Ellen Barkin, Kirstie Alley, Brittany Murphy,
Amy Adams is in it.
Amy Adams and Denise Richards, Allison Janney, by the way.
And I'm going to punch you in the throat if you don't say Will Sasso.
Well, I was going to go Kirsten Dunst and stuff as well, but
he's one of the funniest, best character actors of all time.
Who?
Allison Janney.
Oh yeah.
Yes. By the way, it's one of the reasons that I really wish Mr. Sunshine would have caught on with Matt Perry. Him acting against Allison Janney was perfect. Nobody remembers that show, but I loved it. Anyway, so I wanted to mention Drop Dead Gorgeous. I did see it. I think it actually probably played differently when it wasn't in a theater, because it's kind of to me, it's a smaller film, even though it's got great talent in it.
Yeah, and I'm like Joe. I know it has a cult following, and I appreciate those people, but I never did get. I don't
appreciate them.
But it's that and Clueless. I never understood him.
Now, Clueless, I like. I'll defend Clueless. Clueless, I enjoy. No problem. I got it.
Never seen
laughed.
I've never seen Clueless all the way through. I can never get through it.
Really? I
have no explanation. And you're talking to a movie nerd who loves movies. I'll watch it for about 30 minutes and I just turn it off. I can't stand it.
I got Clueless. I understand the other one that everyone likes that becomes some sort of that didn't do well but became a cult favorite for a lot of folks is Jawbreaker, and I never.
Yeah,
that one's damn near unwatchable to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also never finished Legally Blonde, so there you go.
All right,
let's keep going.
We are I didn't know this was a Wednesday release. So we get through that week. Everybody goes to see Inspector Gadget. Actually, everybody went to see The Haunting. It did make the most money. But coming out that Wednesday after that, Deep Blue Sea.
I saw that.
Made $165 million, folks.
Another Thomas Jane film.
Yeah, and I actually saw. I remember who it was during RA Trading, James, and we saw it at the Moorhead Cinema.
Is there a better death scene?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but this is the second time it's come up today in my life. Sam Jackson's death scene and unless you're talking about one of the other ones.
A shark ate me. So I mean, the fact it becomes a punchline for Dave Chappelle.
I mean, there has to be a better death scene, but I mean, people don't remember that movie. They remember the death scene.
Yeah, they remember that. That's all they remember.
That's all they remember. So it was on a while back.
And it's a hard fight to find somebody who can outact LL Cool J.
Yeah, well, that movie actually has a pretty good cast, and I was rewatching it a while back, just splitting it on. I was like, oh my god, Tony Soprano's sister is the lady up in the tower with the lights and stuff. I mean, there's a bunch of people who went on to do some other stuff, Thomas Jane included. Deep Blue Sea. I wish they'd have made the sequel. There was a sequel going to be made called Deep Red Sea, where an apartment building or something goes into the sea and the sharks come in. And I thought that'd have been cool.
Oh my God, in my mind, by the way, I picture the sharks going, making coffee.
Make coffee. Yeah. Do you like 2 sugars?
I forgot Stellan Skarsgård.
This apartment's nice.
I mean, it's just got one of those. It's one of those B movie, A budget. Made
$165 million.
Yeah, I don't know why there wasn't. There is a sequel a few years ago that when the term, folks, we used to use is straight to tape,
direct to video. Even.
Hey James, I don't know if you know this. You remember LL Cool J had a parrot?
No.
Do you remember do you want to know who the parrot was?
No, they actually had a voice for the parrot.
Frank Welker.
Oh, really? Well, of course. If you need an animal sound, you best call Welker. That needs to be a movie.
Best call Welker.
Best call Welker. I would watch.
Guys, there are 3 Deep Blue Seas. I did not know that.
Well, I don't think the sequels came out till a few years ago, though, right, Chad?
Yeah, Deep Blue Sea 2 came out in 2018. It has a 3.4 rating, and Deep Blue Sea 3,
which is lower than that Gary film, right? The Velocity of Gary.
That's and they apparently made the shark a megalodon.
Well, yeah,
because they were trying to beat Megalodon. Meg. That's not much of a name. It's just 3 letters.
Deep Blue Sea. I have a memorable night that night.
I didn't know it was a Wednesday release, though. That doesn't seem like it'd be a Wednesday. The 90s.
I saw it. I remember seeing it in the middle of the week. It was a good time.
And by the way, so that was the Wednesday. You know what we got on Friday?
No idea.
Twin Falls, Idaho. Anybody? No.
I've actually seen Twin Falls, Idaho. I don't remember anything about it.
It's a drama, evidently. But the one that evidently smacked down Deep Blue Sea by making almost twice as much as it did. I know Joe loves it, so he'll want to talk about it. Runaway Bride.
I have not seen Twin Falls, Idaho. Conjoined twins have their relationship tested when a woman takes interest in one of them. I thought that was the Greg Kinnear, Matt Damon movie.
Oh,
but no, Runaway Bride. Runaway Bride, and I always forget what a big hit that was.
It was a big hit because it's basically the sequel to Pretty Woman.
Yeah,
directed by Gary Marshall. They finally got Julia Roberts and Richard Gere to basically say yes to a script. You guys remember this? It was a big deal because for years they couldn't get like Pretty Woman 2. They both have different tastes in movies. I remember the articles. It was like, it wasn't that they didn't get along, but they just, they didn't pick the right project. And this was it. Runaway Bride. And I actually think I may have saw that in the theater. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember how or when or where.
I know I've seen it, and I've forgot everything other than the end, which I
don't remember the ending, but I do remember she does run and she is a bride.
Yeah.
And guess here, I'm going to give you all a spoiler alert. Her and Richard Gere get it on. What? At the end of the movie, they end up together. What? Yep. Oh, and the eggs. I remember the scene because she orders her eggs the same way anybody she's dating. Does anybody remember that?
No,
I don't know if I've ever seen the film. I'm gonna be
all I remember is her dad makes fun of her constantly, and then somewhere near the climax, she goes off on him and says, "Why don't you just love me?"
Late 90s and
it's like, because you've made me pay for 6 weddings. You.
Late 90s and early 2000, James never saw romantic comedies. Just if you're wondering, if you're like, I wonder if James saw this in theater. If it's a romantic comedy, no, I did not.
All right, what's the next weekend?
You cold-hearted bastard.
The next weekend, we get 4 films. Most of them nobody's going to remember. Those Who Love Me Can Take the Train.
That's a long title.
That sounds like it's an adult film, right? It's a drama.
You can take the train on The Ones Who Love You.
The Gambler, which is not the Kenny Rogers. I checked. I thought
or the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yeah. But the ones that people tend to remember, and both of them are cult classics now, but were not huge hits. Dick.
Yep.
Which is Kirsten Dunst again. We get her popping back up.
Yep.
And The Iron Giant. Which is a great
bombed.
It was neither one of those movies did well. They're both thought of really highly, but nothing's thought of more highly out of those two than The Iron Giant. And I actually didn't see The Iron Giant because you're going to know these other two nerds loved it and saw it earlier. I didn't see it till a few years ago. Watched it in my office over 2 lunch breaks. James, it might have been right when you came or right before. It had to be right before because I actually was eating lunch by myself. And
I was going to say, so James masturbated on your sandwich? That's what you just implied.
No. Oh, that kind of came. Came. I cried in my office.
I'll be honest. So this is if
I cried in my office. So I just want to let everybody know that's how I felt about The Iron Giant.
And it's based on a book. And it's similar to the book. It's a children's book. But also,
like
you couldn't get this cast back together. A couple of them are dead, and that's why. But Jennifer Aniston, Harry Connick Jr., Vin Diesel, Cloris Leachman, John Mahoney, Emmett Walsh. I mean, God, it's just even.
You're right; those people are all dead.
Yeah, most of them. Christopher McDonald on the fence. But no, I mean, it's if you saw that in a live action film, and then you watch it now, and you're like, how did this not become a hit? I mean, on IMDb, it's an 8 out of 10 even now. It is. It's one of those things where, quite frankly, I saw Titan A in theaters. I saw this later.
This is a better movie than Titan A.
Yeah, I love Titan A. This is. I'll be the first to say this is a better movie. It's a bit. Titan A is fun for me. This honestly is a class. And by the way, we see that now. I was watching. The Iron Giant pops up in Ready Player One. The Iron Giant pops up in. I guess is going to pop up in Space Jam: A New Legacy. I mean, that character for a failed movie gets more cultural references.
Yeah, and let's not forget too that this was Brad Bird's first feature film too that he wrote. I mean, he did Amazing Stories, and I think he did a run on Batteries Not Included, or he wrote Batteries Not Included, and then he wrote a lot of the episodes for Family Dog, and then he went from that to Iron Giant 6 years later.
By the way, the book, if you want to get the full story, was written by Ted Hughes, and actually it's not called The Iron Giant. They had to change the title for the movie. Why? Because it's called The Iron Man, which it turns out Marvel's real protective of. Though obviously not enough to stop the children's book years ago. I think the book came out in the 50s. So.
It's a magical movie.
It is. I was in love with it the moment I saw it. I didn't get to see it in the theater, but I came the weekend it was released to rent. I saw it and I just loved it. I did. I didn't cry like Joe did, but it did have an emotional impact on me. I just loved
it. Even that ending where and he, it ends on. I mean, it's a sad note, but it's also a kind of a resilient note too. But anyway, yeah. It's just there's something about it. The animation is great. it's one of those things where I love computer animation. I get it, but every now and then I was watching, and obviously it's not a 1999 film, but I think about things like the Iron Giant. I do think about Titan 8, and I think about Princess and the Frog, and I'm like, I do miss 2D animation. I do.
Yeah. All right. Next.
So we're now to August 6th. And we get, and so those were all Wednesday releases, technically, by the way. I did not know that. So August 6th is a Friday. So you have those coming out Wednesday. Friday is loaded too. Most of these, nobody are going to know. I'll go through them quickly if you want to shout out. The Acid House. No, okay.
Mm-mm.
The Adventures of Sebastian Cole.
No.
Illuminata.
Illuminant. What?
Coram.
No.
Okay, now let me do the three that you're going to know. And I did not know these all came out the same weekend. And I'm starting to see why one of them is a cult classic, but did not get a lot of views. Because you had the Iron Giant coming out as an animated film. And then on Wednesday. And then these are the films you get on Friday. Mystery Men. The Sixth Sense.
Oh, my God.
And the Thomas Crown Affair.
Well, okay. So
just say
Chad
it. Joe.
Likes Mystery Men, and it has good parts, but it is an extremely uneven film.
That it is.
So can we all agree on that? That common ground there. I like the scenes in it.
Again, this is 1999, and that's a comic book movie, and we were lucky to have it, kids. If you live in the days of, there's a Loki series now, and you wait 6 months and there's going to be 2 other things announced, yet that is not the comic book time we grew up in.
Well, we got Blade the year before.
Yeah. And I can remember, I went to see Blade and was like, oh my God, it's a comic film. And they didn't change everything about it. They changed some stuff, but not everything.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Joe.
Well, The Sixth Sense, just to remind everybody, was a huge film, but it didn't start out as huge. It was a hit. And then it just turned into a cultural phenomenon. That's one of those movies that started making more money as the weekends went. And I'm pretty sure if you look it up on box office, that's how it goes. It keeps ticking up. And that's another one that's hard to explain. And I think if people know the ending and you go back, it doesn't resonate as well.
And so
Chad would have to be the one that says that because the ending got ruined for him.
Exactly.
Nathan Lane ruined the ending for me because he was on David Letterman about 3 days after it came out and said, spoiler, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, no, I good Lord, do we want to spoil that for people? I mean, everybody
they've had the opportunity.
Yeah, so
at 22 years.
I waited to see this film, and it had gained such a phenomenal following. And I was like, I'll just wait for it to come. I missed it in the theater. I kept pushing it off. I'll see it when it comes out to rent at the video stores. And me and Joe were in a classroom with the teacher,
who's now passed on.
And he goes, I know all of y'all have already seen Sixth Sense. So when it finds out Bruce Willis is dead, and my jaw dropped. And Joe, I don't know if it was Joe or somebody else in the classroom, because we were all pretty.
I don't remember being there, but I probably
you might not have been, but I think you were. But anyway, there's people in the classroom who knew, and I just sunk my head in Mr. and his name was Mr. Yancey. They go, "What? You just ruined that for Chad," and he kind of said, "Oh well, you should have saw it before I said it."
He did try to give you a reference later and kind of hook you up with a job in his.
Yeah, he did. No, and he was a great teacher. He did a lot of stuff for me. I miss him.
I don't know if he's a great teacher, but he's a lovely man.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
But, you know what? No, and I say this as somebody that is a teacher. If I have to choose between one of those legacies, which one
he's a lovely man. 22 years later, Chad and I can sit here and rattle off stories. He was a lovely
man.
He was ready to retire, but he was. We had several. We came through at a time where it was about to be a change of an old guard, and some people were about ready to go out the door. Chad,
yeah.
That accurate? But no, I think that's
smoke him if you got him.
That's very. But yeah, so he ruined the ending for me, and then I think I saw it 2 weeks later, and I just did not care for the film because I'm like, oh well, that's why. That explains that. That explains that. Everything made sense to me. So the ending twist, it wasn't a twist. I'm like, I already knew it. Why do I care? So I do not like The Sixth Sense, and I think it's because of that.
I like it, but I haven't watched it in a long time.
You know what? And I'm going to say something extremely unpopular. You know what I like more than Sixth Sense?
What?
Unbreakable.
Well, a lot of people.
I love Unbreakable more than that, yeah.
But Unbreakable, I guess the ending, we were about, I'll never forget. I saw it. Actually, I did see it in Moorhead. I went back to see some friends in Moorhead, and they're like, hey, we were going to go see Unbreakable. I saw it at the Moorhead Cinema. And I said, yeah, I'll go. I was visiting friends from high school and stuff. And we went, we saw Unbreakable. And it was about 10 minutes in. And I literally leaned over and I'm like, Samuel L. Jackson keeps wearing purple. He's the bad guy. And
well, yeah, because you knew comics.
I knew comics, and that made me appreciate the film more. It meant that I was watching a filmmaker who knew
comics,
and it was one of the things that we sat there. And when it was over, the guy I leaned over to, we rolled out to the car, and he goes, he goes, how do you do? And I'm like, comic books. If it's purple, it's evil.
Evil, yeah. And I'm the same way. Like that was not a twist ending for me. I was like, oh, he's going to be the bad guy. But I liked it more. In The Sixth Sense, I could never get into it because the ending got ruined for me. And that's one of those cinematic experiences that I wish I could go back in time and just pull myself out of that class so I could watch it and have that experience. I just didn't have it. And I think that's why I don't care for it.
Toni Collette is fantastic in that. That's probably one of the last
Toni Collette's fantastic
Bruce Willis performances of all time.
Well, I was going to say, and honestly, I will say, and I'm being honest about this, go back and find it. I probably find the clip on YouTube. Nathan Lane was promoting something on David Letterman 3 days after it came out. I had not seen it yet. And he came out and he was dressed in the same type of sweater or something. Haley Joel Osment said. And David Letterman said, hey, do you have a clip? And he goes, yeah, I've got a clip. And it's a clip of him in that sweater sitting up and going, hey, he's dead.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, well, I didn't see it in theaters because of that. Because I was like, I know it.
Real quick, and then I'm going to talk about about Mystery Men. I'm just going to go to Mystery Man because I forgot my fucking point.
That's okay. I think we've talked about Sixth Sense in this before.
Yeah, but Mystery Men. I was reading an article about director's cuts that you should see. And one of the ones in there is Mystery Men. And I didn't know there was a director's cut. I have scavenged looking for this. Apparently there's like an over 2 hour cut of Mystery Men.
Does it have more of the Smash Mouth soundtrack?
No, it's supposed to.
Hey, now you're an all-star.
Isn't it crazy that Shrek gets remembered for that song and it actually started in Mystery Men?
It started with Mystery Men. I agree with you on that when people completely forget that it was
the video is Mystery Men based.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But
thank God Shrek got to use it because no one saw Mystery Men.
Yeah.
There were 4 people going, wait a minute.
One of
them was Paul Rubin. One of them.
I just remember my success point, so I'm going to get into that. But anyway, no, I want to see it because apparently it goes more in depth into the bowler and how her dad got into this, the relationship with the dad. I've got to find it. If anybody knows where a director's cut of Mystery Men
changes the whole
stalt of the movie. But no, I really want to see it. And by the way, back on The Sixth Sense, the one person who doesn't get credit for their performance in this, and this was actually the only part I liked because I was shocked when I went back and looked who was in it. Donnie Wahlberg at the start of that movie.
He's great. He's fantastic. He never got better. Got better. And Haley Joel Osment is amazing in that film. That movie is extremely well acted.
The only movie
and well written, by the way.
The only movie I think Haley Joel Osment may do better in is Secondhand Lines, because I love that movie too.
I like that movie, but no,
yeah.
And like Kaminsky Method, if you get a chance to watch that.
Oh, he's also in what's the name of that movie?
I've not seen that.
Let's move on. Move on.
What's next?
Okay. So again, we didn't really spend time on the Thomas Crown affair, but actually
I say real quick? Go ahead, Chad.
Future Man. Haley Joel Osment's good in Future Man.
Here's what's good about the Thomas Crown Affair. Actually, that's a good remake of a movie that's pretty good. And actually,
Future Man's a remake.
I think the Pierce Brosnan Thomas Crown Affair is slightly better.
I agree.
See, I think I like the original better.
Yeah,
I don't think
that it dated well. Even though I think Norman Jewison is a fantastic, wonderful, brilliant director, I think the Thomas Crown Affair remake is slightly better than the original.
I agree.
I think my issue with it is it doesn't.
And Steve McQueen can't act for shit.
Yeah, but he was a movie star.
He was a movie star. And I was about to say, and I think that's my issue with it. And I'm not knocking Pierce Brosnan, and I agree with you. It's probably better made or better structured with the actors and everything. But I think my issue with it is it may be better done, but it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, you're probably right. I won't argue that. I won't argue that. It's they're the same story both times.
It's not a shot for shot remake. It's not a Psycho.
No, but I agree with that. I prefer the remake.
Yeah, I prefer Pierce Brosnan, Rene Russo, and Dennis Leary to Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, and I forget who Dennis Leary's character.
As much as I love the girl with the dragon tattoo, both versions, I actually kind of prefer the American version. So
the opening gets me. It has nothing to do with the plot, but the opening, the graphic, I don't know why. I remember watching that in theater and I loved it. All right. So we're now to August 13th. And let me say,
we are still not into the fall.
No, but this is a weird
list. It's hot as hell. Let's go to the movies. They've got
I want to get my Halloween candy.
So real quick, a couple movies that nobody's going to remember.
Which back then they actually only sold it in October.
At Halloween.
At Halloween.
Sydney,
we're old.
Sydney, A Story of a City, Flushed, Head On, Miss Monday. Anybody want to talk about any of those? No,
nope.
Of course not. Tall, which was a musical. I don't remember anything about that. Here's the four that I don't remember the first one, so I'll start with it. Better Than Chocolate, romantic comedy. Anybody?
I've heard of it, but I don't remember it.
I did not. Yeah.
Here's
Johnny Depp.
Here's the three that I will talk about.
You're talking about Chocolat.
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, that's not. This is Better Than Chocolate.
That's Better Than Chocolate.
It's right in the title.
James, the show's over. We'll stop it at that joke.
So we ain't gonna do any better. No, I haven't seen this because it's a drama, and I didn't see dramas during this period, as I've already established. Broke Down Palace. Anybody want to? Isn't that Marissa Tomei? Am I making that up?
It's the prequel to Broke Down Mountain. I broke back Mountain. I screwed it up. Keep going.
But the two other movies that came out, both comedies. One I saw, and it's not going to be the one people suspect. Detroit Rock City and Bowfinger. Yes, I saw Detroit Rock City.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I saw a little bit of it later and did not care for it.
Because once again, let me quote the trailer. They passed by a hitchhiker who happens to be a lady and goes, hey, and one of them goes, hey, we should pick her up. Dude, horror movies start that way. And his response, dude, porno movies also start that way. And they pick her.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I watched later that I didn't enjoy that a lot of people like.
It wasn't a hit at all. It made
$5
million. It made $5 million.
Later on, people liked it.
Yeah, I was, and I don't know why, because I love Steve Martin and I love Eddie Murphy, but Bowfinger I enjoyed later when I watched it on VHS.
Ooh, really?
But something about
I like Bowfinger.
I enjoyed it more than I thought I would because I didn't see it in theater. I had the opportunity, Chad, and what did I say? Oh yeah, no, Detroit Rock City. That seems like a good time. And by the way, I don't remember. The only thing I remember about Detroit Rock City is they get there to get the tickets, and the guy goes, "You hung up on me and didn't give me your name. How was I supposed to hold them for you?" I don't remember actually how it resolves.
Is that Edward Furlong's last big role?
I think so.
Or like a movie, like a studio film. I think so. But I like Bowfinger. You don't like Bowfinger?
Guys, I don't even know if I need to not talk about this because I don't even remember seeing Bowfinger. So I don't know
Bowfinger is another one of like the Cecil B. Demented. If you don't know anything about how movies are made, I can see why anybody couldn't care less.
Well, the basic summary is like there's a twist later on, but he happens to look like a huge actor.
He happens to look like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
Eddie Murphy's playing a guy that happens to look like Eddie Murphy. Only they don't call him Eddie Murphy.
And Steve Martin is basically a I don't want to say a Roger Corman because he's not Corman. He's not that.
It's
good.
Ed Wood.
Yeah, and he's trying. If I can get this guy to be in my movie, people come.
Maybe I need to go back and try to watch Bowfinger because now that
I don't know how it holds up over time, but at the time,
I'll be honest with you. Now that I said I don't like it, I don't know if I've actually seen it.
You need to check Bowfinger out, but it may suck now. Who knows?
And it is a Frank Oz film, and Frank Oz has not made a bad film.
Well, to me, and I guess that's my issue. Like I watched it later on VHS, and I enjoyed it more than I thought, which is why I didn't see it in theater. I didn't think I'd enjoy it. But to me, I think its biggest crime is it's uneven.
It isn't it's not fantastic. It's pretty good. I didn't see it in theaters either. I saw it later because I didn't think I'd like it when it came out, and then I ended up enjoying it later.
Well, I was saying, here's my problem: Frank Oz, Steve Martin. I wanted Dirty Rotten Scoundrels too.
Man, I said Frank Oz didn't make a bad film.
You're gonna get the Stepford Wives.
I forgot he made the Stepford Wives.
There's still some enjoyable parts of that, but yes.
My wife likes that movie. I've seen it a few times.
All right, what's next? Let's roll.
Anyway, so
Stepford husband.
I want to stop and say August 18th. That was a Wednesday release, and I did not know about this movie, but I want to mention it because it still has, I think it's a 7.2 out of 10 rating. It's a documentary that was supposed to be Hoop Dreams for boxing. It's called On the Ropes, directed by Nanette Burstein and Brett Morgan.
The rest of those bears.
It follows three boxers, and their coach is actually trying to make them lead positive lives. And so if you know anything about the 90s boxing scene, let me refer to Mike Tyson, Don King. A lot of boxers did not come out well publicly as their career changed, as they tend to be. And so this was a movie that actually followed these three young boxers and people trying to say, be good people, do all this, you box, do. And so, I mean, this was the time period when Mike Tyson was in trouble and all this. So On the Rope, still highly rated today. I've never seen it. Now I want to go back and catch it. That was a Wednesday release. But I did, by the way, I need to correct myself. I did, it turns out, see one romantic comedy during this time. On August 20th, these are the movies that came out. I'll start with the lowest grossing, Raising the Stakes. No idea. Then we got Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
Yeah, that was a bomb. That was Kevin Williamson's. Yeah, and that's the other thing about that. Real quick, historical. Not a movie you should watch. Not recommending it. But Kevin Williamson wrote Scream. That was his directorial debut. He got his first shot, and it was right after Columbine. They changed it from the original title was Killing Mrs. Tingle.
Yes, and it's so basically. I do remember watching it. I watched it. I did not see it in theaters. Yep. And by the way, this leads to why I did end up seeing a romantic comedy. I was going to see it in theaters, and the one showing I went to actually was probably the only showing nationally that sold out. And so I had to go see another movie that came out that weekend. But the plot to it does have a good cast. You got Helen Mirren again, Katie Holmes, Jeffrey Tambor, Molly Ringwald, Vivica A. Fox. I mean, great. Barry Watson. Great cast. And it's basically this Katie Holmes is a salutatorian. She has to get her way to valedictorian to keep her scholarship. And one teacher won't let her do it. And that's Mrs. Tingle. So they decide that they're going to deal with Mrs. Tingle. That's the plot to the movie. It's a comedy, which again, probably hard to sell in the wake of certain events.
Yeah.
But that was sold out. So the other Universal Soldier 2, The Return, that made more money, by the way, than Teaching Mrs. Tingle. I did not go see that when Teaching Mrs. Tingle was sold out. The only other movie that was available, and this was back when Lexington Green had a movie theater, was the movie I did see. So this is the one romantic comedy I did happen to see. I refer you to what is, and I know you're thinking, Love Actually came out much later. No, I'm going to talk about the best film in the Hugh Grant oeuvre, the gestalt, if you will, of Hugh Grant.
Oh, God.
Or you get off with it.
Blue Eyes. Mickey Blue Eyes. If you've often said Hugh Grant needs to do a gangster film, don't worry, folks. It exists. You just
James Caan in that, right?
Yep. Yes.
I had to watch that piece of shit with my mom. She rented it. I must have been home that weekend or something.
Yep. Mickey Blue Eyes is, honestly, in my mind, it got made because you did have that resurgence of gangster films during that time, or leading previous to that. You had all of those, and again, it's Hugh Grant, James Caan, it's Burt Young.
It basically something with Burt Young.
Yeah, it's got a solid cast.
But
it pretty much is, hey, let's take 9 months, except make him a gangster instead. He ends up he's an auctioneer who ends up proposing to a daughter of a kingpin, and they have to make him pass as being worthy of marrying the daughter, so he has to be able to do the family business.
Yeah.
Not a great film.
No, it's not memorable in any way, shape, or form.
So I did see that in theater. So that is the one romantic. Maybe that's why I didn't go back to romantic comedies for a while. No offense.
Are we out of August yet?
We are. Yeah, we're almost to the end of August.
That's a no. The answer to my query would be.
I thought you said, are we in August yet?
I said, are we out of August yet?
No. So
James.
August 25th, 2 movies come out. If y'all, these would be the Wednesday releases toward the end of August. In Too Deep.
No idea.
Drama, and The Source, which is a documentary. August 27th. Oh boy. The Very Thought of You, romantic comedy. Nobody remembers. Badash, A Dog of Flanders.
Huh?
Dudley Do Right.
Boy, oh my God. Dudley Do Right is so bad.
Made $9 million. Was beat by The Muse. Anybody want to talk about The Muse?
I like The Muse.
I like the cereal. Wait,
that's all I'm going to say about it.
I just like that song, that band, right?
Isn't that Albert Brooks?
Oh, that's the one comedy. That's the one with Sharon Stone.
Stone, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And James, there's a funny joke about James Cameron when she was like, "Stay away from water," and he's walking out and he sees a pool and he walks away around the pool.
Yeah,
that's the only damn thing I remember about The Muse.
Yeah, The Muse made more money than another movie that had an actor that went on to do some things that are well known today, because it came out against The Astronaut's Wife.
Hey,
I've never seen it.
Still prefer The Muse.
And the #1 movie this weekend that went on to make $61 million, based on a Michael Crichton novel, which is an update of Beowulf, The 13th Warrior.
Which is the name.
$60 million. That was forever and a day delayed. Do you guys remember that? It was
$61,689,000
when it come out.
And by the way, the 13th Warrior is not the name of the Michael Crichton book. The Michael Crichton book is called Eaters of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've read the book, but I think Chad made me read it. It's not
bad.
I just don't remember much about it.
Yeah.
By the way, August 31st.
By the way, I don't think you ever gave me back my book. I'll give you back your copy of The Fog when you give me back my Eaters of the Dead paperback.
Sure.
Do you have his copy of The Fog? Because if you do, I'm going to kill you. I got
Don't.
August 31st, they did a concert recorded video release of Cats in 1999. It didn't make any money, which means it still was more popular than the actual version of Cats. Zing! I'll see you in hell, Taylor Swift.
God, that movie's terrible.
My daughter saw it in theaters.
If we could get Taylor Swift to just say "fuck you, fatty," as we say, "We'll see you in hell," Taylor Swift.
Actually, no.
If we could get her to do a cameo for Bonehead the movie and just "fuck you, fatties."
What would be even better is if it's
that one.
If it's one of the breakup songs, like if we hear the album 2 years from now where she writes a song about "you attacked me online for no reason," I'm going to claim credit for that. That's right, Taylor Swift.
I would love for her to write a breakup song about this.
By the way, I say that knowing that my daughter will buy that album because she owns all the other ones.
By the way, I'm sitting here looking at my paperback shelf. I don't have your Eaters of the Dead.
Sure you don't. I don't have The Fog.
Y'all probably don't. I don't know which bitch stole that.
So we're to September now.
Probably we want to do September? Son's toy chest where my damn sockets were.
Seriously, you want to talk about The Fog? I don't know where my whole book collection went. All my books are gone. The only thing I have is Elmore Leonard's Pagan Babies. I was like, how the hell did that one survive?
Lose all those and those paint by number. I got nothing. Keep going.
So we're to September finally. September 1st, midweek releases. Chill Factor, action film. Anybody?
Oh, is that Keanu Reeves?
No, is it? Hold on.
Oh, that's Chain Reaction.
Yeah, that's gotcha. Yeah.
Chill Factor
is with Cuba Gooding Jr. Oh, and oh my God, yeah, this is Cuba Gooding Jr. and Skeet Ulrich. A new biological chemical weapon that explodes up to temperatures over 50 degrees Fahrenheit falls into the hands of 2 men who try to make sure it doesn't get stolen by terrorists. This is the one movie we got to talk about this because it has one of the best lines ever. And you all talk about Justified and how it's completely not how Kentucky is laid out, right?
The geography isn't.
Yeah.
There are certain things they get right in Justified about Kentucky, though.
So Skeet Ulrich plays he just is down and out luck guy who used to be a big time college football player who would have gone pro if he hadn't got injured.
If he hadn't had Jerry Maguire represent him.
Yeah. Do you want to guess what college he took? He was where he went to, where he was the best football player in all of NCAA college football.
Morehead State University.
Kentucky State University. Only people
to you, but yeah.
Anybody listening to us who's in Kentucky will laugh at that. If we have any other people, I think maybe Glenn in Australia listens to us. He's not going to get that joke. It's funny to us.
It is.
Do they?
It's a terrible movie. I saw Chill Factor. It is so terrible.
Well, I think that was like I said, I think that's a midweek release. I may be wrong. Because the other one it premiered against in the middle of the week. So that was the action premiere.
That is Hugh Johnson, director Hugh Johnson. That is his only directing film. Is Chill Factor. I am so sorry.
Listen, Skeet Ulrich did Chill Factor. 15 years later was hanging out with us at Scarefest. Not a coincidence.
Joe, you know who else was in Chill Factor?
Who?
Kevin J. O'Connor.
I like Kevin J. O'Connor. I wish more people would use him.
Oh, there's lots of people that have used Kevin. Anyway,
stories.
Oh, Joe, I'm gonna. When we're done with this, I'm gonna look up the movie with Kevin J. O'Connor that my kids watched about a magical unicorn.
Is it good?
It's no.
Better than Paw Patrol.
Maybe no, it's not better than Paw Patrol. I'll go.
Paw Patrol's over with in 20 minutes.
It's like a Band-Aid. You just got to rip it off.
There's like two little there's about 22 minutes. You're done with the Paw Patrol.
James, let's keep going. Wish Upon a Unicorn. That's what it was called. Go, James.
The also coming out against Chill Factor, and Chill Factor made $11 million, was the best film that I'm aware of that was written by the Farrelly brothers and stars Alec Baldwin and George Wendt.
No.
And Amy Smart.
Providence.
Outside Providence.
Providence. I like Outside Providence.
I do too. That's a autobiographical.
Autobiographical.
Yeah,
it was not directed by the Farrellys.
No, they wrote it and produced it.
It was directed by Michael Corrente, who you would know for nothing. No, who actually produced a bunch of films that aren't overly well known, but has been directing some things like American Buffalo, A Shot at Glory, Brooklyn Rules. But he is also a producer, writer.
American Buffalo is a good movie. It's based on a David Mamet play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's as an actor, he pops up also in Kingpin.
Yeah. He's
the Scranton wino, if you're wondering. But again, I don't think too many people talk about Outside Providence.
No, they don't.
No, I don't think anybody remembers it.
They definitely don't talk about Chill Factor, and they definitely don't. God help us, Alec Baldwin is probably the world's biggest douchebag ever, but he is a great actor, and he is awesome in that movie.
Well, according to South Park, he's the greatest actor of all time.
It's
South Park.
There's an argument there.
I mean, he is a damn fine actor, by the way.
Yeah,
he really is. Keep going, James.
Well, I was going to check because things get really weird. Are we
in September yet?
We are. I told you.
Oh, thank God. The leaves are starting to turn slightly.
Not over here. I'm still mowing.
Oh, Lord.
That's climate change for you.
So September 3rd, I guess that was
we're barely in September. The shit that
fuck
you and your leaves, Chad. They ain't turned. They ain't turned, they ain't fall. Fucking persimmons are coming in now on the vines.
If you let me can I finish?
That's the first time I've said fucking persimmons on this in 189 episodes.
Hold on, speaking of things from the night. Now, Admiral, can I finish? Can I finish, Admiral? Admiral, can I finish? Can I finish? Okay. September 3rd was, I guess, a Friday, but nothing that came out did any good. I don't know what happened. Somebody wants to go back and check.
Just say them quick.
All the Little Animals, Bedrooms and Hallways, Floating, and West Beirut. Anybody?
Next weekend.
Well, we get a midweek release of Welcome Back, Mr. McDonald. I assume he came back to his farm.
Never heard of it. If it ain't Cotter, it ain't shit for Welcome Back.
All right. we then jump to September 10th, and September 10th does have some fun things, I guess.
Thank you, James. I will be the judge.
Well, here I'm going to go through all of them because there's literally about 10 movies released that weekend.
Okay.
Bee Monkey.
Okay.
Best Laid Plans.
That I've
Earth.
heard.
Hello, Brother. Love Stinks. Hum Sauthane.
What?
You heard me. The Minus Man.
Hurt his tongue. Keep going.
The Minus Man. White Boys. And the two I want to talk about, which were the two highest ranking movies. Stir of Echoes, which was the second highest ranking that weekend.
Yeah.
And Stigmata. Now, I told a story after we recorded last week that I said to tell this week. I saw these back to back in the theater. I went to the movies. I was like, I'm going to see both of these. I went horror movies. Yay. By the way, Stir of Echoes is considered a thriller in some listings instead of a horror movie.
And
but
it's based on a Richard Matheson book.
Based on Matheson. I told the story after we stopped recording. I said I would tell it this week. I saw both these back to back. I went back to work. I was an RA at the time. The person that was on the staff with me, one of them was extremely Catholic, and they said, "What movie did you go see?" I shouldn't say extremely Catholic. They were very devout, and and I said, "Oh, I went and saw two movies." Well, which two? Stir of Echoes, no issues there. And I said, "Oh, and Stigmata." They were furiously angry at me for seeing Stigmata, and we take that very seriously. I'm like, it's. I don't think they consulted. I mean, like, it's not an attack on Catholicism. Well, I won't even see it. And it became this big, like, there was about 2 weeks where this person remained mad at me for seeing that movie. That being said, what's funny to me is Stir of Echoes during its theatrical run made about $23 million. I didn't know Stigmata made $89 million. It was a much bigger film.
It was a big hit, but nobody remembers it. It's not very good. It's very
I really remember. I did not know it was a hit. I thought it kind of came and went. I'm kind of shocked to hear that it was a hit.
Stir of Echoes, by the way, a lot of people like, and I watched it later, and I did not care for it.
I'm right there with you, Joe.
I love Stir of Echoes.
I haven't seen it since, but I didn't care for it.
I love Stir of Echoes, and I think it goes back to the same thing that I've said about like the Insidious movies.
Which, by the way, if you don't know Stir of Echoes, it stars the upcoming villain of the Toxic Avenger movie.
Is Kevin Bacon playing the villain?
He's playing the villain against Peter Dinklage.
That has my attention. I'll be honest.
Peter Dinklage is the Toxic Avenger.
I'm for it. That's great.
I'm for it too, but I'm baffled as to what they're going to do with it. But anyway.
Stir of Echoes. Stir of Echoes. I think the reason it worked on me is 2 scenes, and they're the opening scene and the closing scene. It starts with the kid in the bathtub, and he's talking. It looks like he's talking to the camera, and you find out it's the wall. He's talking to the wall, to his friend. And the last scene in the movie, they're pulling away. They think they're going to leave it behind, and you switch to the kid's point of view, and he still hears all the voices. And it goes back to why Insidious worked on me. If that's your kid, what do you do? So
Stir of Echoes is also the second outing of the great screenwriter, and I'm so sorry, he wrote Jurassic Park. I can't remember his damn name.
James Thomas. I did that.
You did not. And he would later do another thriller or horror film, whatever you want to call it, that came out during the pandemic with Kevin Bacon.
David Koepp.
David Koepp. Yeah, it's David Koepp. Koepp.
He also directed it.
Yeah, that's what it's his second film. His first one, I think, is that one where all the lights go out. I can't remember what it's something. Anyway, I just never liked it. I wonder if I'd appreciate it now.
Yeah, maybe me and you both need to watch it again because I really didn't care for it either.
I just put it on that fuck ton.
The Trigger Effect, Joe. You're thinking of the Trigger Effect.
That's his directorial debut.
Yeah.
Now I did care. I did like it, sort of. I even reviewed it for Scarefest. The one.
Ooh, did you know he directed? He directed Mordecai.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
He also directed the Ghost Town, which actually is it's a pretty good movie. I kind of liked it, but I didn't think Mordecai was as bad as everybody said. I saw that in the theater.
I guess I need. Oh yeah, and I actually enjoyed Ghost Town.
Ghost Town's a good movie.
It is a good film.
Yeah, based on the graphic novel, right? Is that the one you're talking about, Ghost Town?
Maybe, I don't know. It was a bomb.
Yeah, it was a bomb. Nobody saw it except
Mordecai.
Joe and I. And I need to see Mordecai. I can't, but I tried watching 5 minutes of it and go, oh, this is it. And I turned it off.
You know what?
I mean, I saw it in the theater. It's him, Paul Bettany. I didn't bother me. What's the one he did the version? That's the reason Johnny Depp's in that is because is Mordecai. David Koepp also directed Secret Window, which is a good, good little movie.
Yeah.
It's
Of course,
by the way,
based on a good little story by Stephen King.
Stigmata was a success, never got a sequel. Stir of Echoes was not a success, not as big of a success. I'm sure it still made a little bit of money and definitely caught on more in home video. So we did get a direct-to-video sequel of Stir of Echoes called Stir of Echoes 2, The Homecoming, and they replaced Kevin Bacon with, of course, Rob Lowe.
Yeah,
and I've seen it, and guess which movie's better?
Rob Lowe?
No.
Oh shit, man! They had a 50-50 shot. All right, next weekend.
The movie was called Rocky, and you bet against Rocky. Anyway. We get a documentary called Galapagos. I'm assuming it's about Galapagos. On September 15th, we get a film that didn't have a star. It seems this star has been erased from history, and we're not supposed to mention it, but it did have Thora Birch, so I'm going to give it credit. American Beauty.
I saw it in the theater. I don't think I saw it that weekend. I saw that's another one of those slow growing films that happened that year with American Beauty. Is one of my favorite movies. I haven't seen in a long time, so I'm curious.
It's almost the definition of a perfect film.
It's
hard
to beat, guys. That's so well acted, directed, shot.
Made $356 million, and
it tells you the twist. It tells you the twist at the beginning of the movie,
and you still are just you're absolutely right, Chad. It tells you up front exactly what's going to happen.
Yep.
And actually, here's some funny thing. I don't know if you guys knew this. There's a sequence where he descends from heaven that was in the original screenplay and in the original movie, and the director cut it out. And the cinematographer almost had lost his mind because he thought at the time, and I can't remember the great cinematographer, he's dead now, that shot that movie.
And probably because they cut that scene.
Yeah, well, no. But he said, because he thought it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever shot, because Kevin Spacey's character descends from heaven at the beginning of the movie. But that he even after he watched it, he's like, "Yeah, you're right. It works better without it." Man,
God, guys, I forgot Conrad L. Hall, Joe.
Conrad Hall. Yeah, he's dead now, right, Chad?
Yes. I did not remember Scott Bakula being in this movie.
Yeah, he's one of the gay neighbors.
Yeah.
Wow, Scott Bakula. Is there anything he can't do other than give me season 5 of Enterprise?
It is a brilliant film. Also, another quick story is the story goes is that because it was made for DreamWorks, and Spielberg watched the first cut, the cut that they delivered, and he said, "Don't change a thing."
That movie though has, and I think it's one of the reasons it.
Boy, we don't talk about it anymore, even though it won Best Picture. You're right.
It works well, but I've watched it recently-ish, probably about a year ago. To be honest,
have you really?
And it's still, and actually the scene that gets me, and I think it got me when I first watched it. It has not lost any of the power. The entire "you don't get to tell me what to do anymore" scene.
Yep. That
scene, I don't care how old I get, that there's something about that entire scene. And it works. It is a very human.
Yeah, he's a broken dude who just.
Yep. Who just.
I don't know if I can forgive Alan Ball though, because he did give us True Blood.
Oh yeah, it was written by Alan Ball, right?
Screw Alan Ball for True Blood.
Hey, and no, that's adapting novels too. Let's not. You share some of that
show. It wasn't like that show was unpopular, Chad.
You share some of that blame with Charlene Harris.
That show, now we may not be my cup of tea. I couldn't get into it. I tried.
I couldn't either. God,
I always fail. I couldn't get into that shit.
You know what though? And I by the way, Bonehead tweeted this earlier today. You got to realize sometimes things just aren't for you.
They just aren't.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Walk
mean
away
from
bad.
it. They ain't for you. It turns out I ain't into Paw Patrol. That doesn't mean I got to stop, Joe from watching.
Listen, dude, you just don't get the gestalt of
well,
Marshall.
No, let me tell you, my friend, I was there at the beginning. You're a latecomer.
I bet Zuma is yours.
These newer episodes can't hold a candle to the originals. Back when there were only 5 dogs, and they faced the same amount of challenges. Now
there's a movie. There's a movie coming out this August. You guys know that? My kid has watched that trailer a dozen times, and Chris keeps watching this trailer. And I said I'd get on him, but I watched the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer about 18 times one day.
The only thing that would be better.
One of us is 40 and the other one's almost 4. So I'm 40.
The only thing that would make this better in my world, like my version of the devil coming up and ruining your life, would be if all of a sudden there was a press announcement going, Paw Patrol moved on schedule, and it opens up against Ghostbusters.
Well, I know which one he's seeing because I can still lie to him.
Well, but then it'll come back later. It'll be when he's 6. He says, "Wait a minute, Dad lied to me."
Yeah, sure did. Didn't you have a good time? I took you to both.
All right, let's get farther into September. Go.
Okay, so that was a Wednesday release. September 17th was loaded, and nothing very much did well except for one movie that broke $100 million. I'll start though with the bottom. Again, jump in with any of these you wish. Most of them are comedies. Women, Taxman.
I can't say something about jumping in with women. Keep going.
Sugartown.
I love that.
Splendor, Speaking in Strings, Romance, which is a drama. Lucy Albrock, Heart of Light, the documentary Get Bruce.
Yeah. Bruce Valanche, and if you don't Bruce Valanche, and if you don't know who that is, Google him later.
Yeah, you should.
He's one of the greatest comedy writers of all time.
Now, this was a minor success, but it was Kevin Costner in a baseball film, For the Love of the Game, or For Love of the Game.
I like and it's not just because of Sam Raimi. I actually like For Love of the Game.
I do too.
It's probably 20 minutes too long. It's well over 2 hours.
Yeah, I prefer.
And we talked about this in one of our sports episodes, is that the scenes where he's getting into the zone at the pitcher's mound.
Yep.
Is beautiful.
It is.
It's just a beautiful scene.
It is. It didn't quite work at the box office, but it's not one of Sam Raimi's.
And it was Kevin Costner's last baseball film.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So far.
True
Existo, which was a comedy, never heard of. Breakfast of Champions was a comedy, not a success. Willis. The number one movie, though, that came out this weekend, other than the Wednesday release of American Beauty, Blue Streak.
Blue Streak with Martin Lawrence?
Yeah.
Poor Sam Raimi got beat by Martin Lawrence and Blue Streak. I saw For Love of the Game in the theater when it came out because I was such a Sam Raimi fan.
Yep. Anybody want to talk about Blue Streak?
No,
I was looking up Breakfast of Champions. It's based on a Kurt Vonnegut Jr. book.
Yep.
Oh, really? I didn't make that connection.
You should have known that, James. Dr. Jerkface.
By the way, I do want to pause. Now, say what you will about Blue Streak, but the director has a certain gestalt because he directed The Man with Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, my God.
And Flubber 2 years before Blue Streak with Robin Williams. But most importantly, the movie that in 1992 set, and this was my summer movie in 1992 that I got to see at the Moorhead Cinema, set the pathway for the gestalt of 90s films. I refer to, of course, him being the director of Encino Man. Buddy. All right, anyway.
God, my hatred of Pauly Shore.
Dave Coulier, okay, you get to remove one from history. Dave Coulier or Pauly Shore?
I'm going to remove Dave Coulier because Pauly Shore's lineage of the Comedy Store is kind of hard not to. But
I was going to say, and my entire thing about Pauly Shore
has probably did more damage.
I disagree with that. I'll be honest. To me, Encino Man's a fun little film. The other thing is Pauly Shore's in the Goofy movie, and so he gets a bye for me.
Okay.
Now I'm going to argue for Dave Coulier simply because he did take over for Lorenz music for Peter Venkman. He did a lot of cartoon work. He was the voice of Tom Hanks on Pinky and the Brain.
Oh, by the way, is anybody watching is it The Great North, the animated show?
No.
Okay, I am. It's on Fox. I watched it on Hulu. It's got Nick Offerman's the voice of the father. Alanis Morissette is her imaginary friend, and it's actually voiced by Alanis Morissette. And they did the last episode, I think they did an entire Dave Coulier reference. And she actually goes, the daughter that is her imaginary, is Alanis is her imaginary friend, goes, yeah, well, let me tell you about this guy I met. He introduced himself with a puppet, and it kind of became a thing, and then we kind of had a relationship. And she goes, whoa, Alanis, we've heard this story. Please stop. Let it go, Alanis. And the fact that it's actually voiced by Alanis Morissette, that's what made it funny to me. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's what and that was going to be my lead up to my joke that we also wouldn't have Jagged Little Pill if it wasn't for Dave Coulier. So there you go.
No, it's not Jagged Little Pill. We wouldn't have that one song.
Well,
Jagged Little Pill was the name of the album and the song. What's the name of that song?
Yeah, to remind you of the mess you left when you went away. Hey.
Alanis Morissette.
It was on the other day, and I was listening to it, and I got to be honest, I was by myself. I turned it up.
Yep.
I don't care all the complaints about ironic. I actually enjoy that song.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it ironic?
All right.
Don't you think? James.
Okay. We're to the end of September.
So to keep score before James moves on, 2 for Pauly Shore, 1 for Dave Coulier.
I wouldn't do. No, I wouldn't be able to take out either one of them.
No, you're not good enough.
No, I would keep both of them. I saved my scoring for I don't know. I'll come up with somebody later. All right, September 24th. They dropped a bunch of movies. None of which did a lot of money except for one, which is a movie nobody talks about. So let's get going. Bandits, the drama. Anybody?
With Bruce Willis
and Billy Bob Thornton.
That's a comedy.
I don't think it's that Bandits. This one only made $24,000.
Well, no, that ain't that one.
Yeah, the Bandits we're talking about, Joe, came out in 2001.
Yep.
Dog Park. Anybody? Dog Park?
No, don't have a dog. Keep going.
Fever Pitch, romantic comedy. Anybody?
No, there was one that came out a few years later that I know.
Fever Pitch, if I'm not mistaken, stars Freddie Prinze Jr., and I won't talk about that some bitch.
Guinevere was a drama, made $500,000. All right.
Oh, no. Fever Pitch. I'm sorry, I got that confused. Fever Pitch was the Drew Barrymore, Jimmy Fallon film.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Came out later.
That came out in 2005.
That was the one I said there was one that came out later with the same name.
Yeah.
Mumford, the comedy, made $4.5 million.
I like it.
What is it?
Well, it's about a guy. It's the lead actor, Chad, was not a famous dude, but the movie's filled with famous dudes.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, that is
all
absolutely
of his patients are famous. He's not famous. The actor is it? It's directed and written by Lawrence Kasdan.
Gotcha.
It's about a guy who's pretending to be a psychiatrist.
Yep.
Gotcha.
It is a really good film. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If
you haven't.
Yeah, and
$4.5 million.
Or I think it's hard. Heard of it.
I think it's hard to find.
It probably is, but if you don't know who Lawrence Kasdan is, not only did he write Empire Strikes Back, he also wrote and directed the Big Chill, Body Heat, Silverado. He's a very talented dude.
By the way, the Fever Pitch movie that came out it stars Colin Firth. I don't know what the hell I was talking about, Freddie Prinze Jr.
No, he had something that was head pitch in it, where he's a baseball or something.
I'm looking it up, so James can go.
Go, James.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say, so we get One Man's Hero was an action film, only made $200,000. Suits, which only made $4,000. And I want to talk about one film, and I know Chad's going to want to talk about this. I'm sure he wants to defend this film. The film that first showed us that
Summer Catch. Damn it.
The film that shows that you can go from playing basketball to acting and people will show up. I, of course, refer to Simon Says.
Oh my God.
S-E-Z.
Just keep going. I did actually got a theatrical release.
You didn't know that? Yes.
That was another straight to tape. I remember
it made $300,000. It made $300,000. It bombed really hard. That being said, let me tell you the career whose career it really affected.
Yeah, I'm glad you're going this route. Go for it.
Kevin Allen Elders directed it. It was the first film he got to direct. Why is that name important? Because he created a franchise that was, say what you will, they were pretty big hits, even though He created the Iron Eagle franchise.
No, really?
And yeah, and he's done screenplays since, but he got to direct that movie, which pretty much, and then later on they let him direct a TV movie, Jane Doe. But otherwise, it kind of working with Rodman did not help Kevin Elder's directing career, evidently. So,
and it also, Simon says, started the acting career, I believe, of Dane Cook.
Yes.
And John Panette. One of those is a fine comedian.
And the other one is John Panette.
Hey, John Panette is a hilarious man. I highly recommend his stand-up.
Anyway, so Simon says nobody remembers, but I wanted to bring it up because I remember the ads for it. And even then I was like, I just don't buy this. So the ones other people do remember, and it actually made barely more money than Mumford, but I remember the ad campaign for it being pretty serious because, of course, he had won some award. Jacob the Liar. Robin Williams playing the Jewish...
during the Holocaust, right?
Yeah, the concentration camp where he tells lies to try to make everybody's life better.
Yeah. Let's just roll over that one. I don't even want.
I mean, there's a lot going on, and like I remember the film, and there were complications there. I mean, it's not a terrible movie. That being said, the number one movie that went on to have $177 million, more than $177 million, and nobody talks about it. Double Jeopardy. That would be Ashley Judd.
Oh God!
And Tommy Lee Jones. I saw that. I have no recollection of what it's about.
Yeah,
it's about Double Jeopardy.
But she was the queen of the box office for a few years there.
And now we know more about what happened.
It was Paramount, and it was one Paramount thriller after another. Remember, with different, it was either Morgan Freeman or Tommy Lee Jones, and they're always getting her out of trouble. And she was, empowered female.
Yeah, and then we know what happened to her career, sadly.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says. Simon Birch is a great film, and she's wonderful in it.
I think somebody gave me that on DVD.
I don't think I've ever actually seen it.
I love that. It's other than Grumpy Old Man, it's the only other thing that guy's done that's really great. What's his name?
Mark Brian Johnson or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
And no, the Daredevil director's cut is only slightly better, James.
It's got Coolio.
It does.
Coolio actually adds a little bit of a story.
It does. Doesn't make it any better though. I want to see the director's cut of Mystery Men. I bet that's a fantastic.
See, they cut 30 seconds out of it, James.
Changes the whole
all of it.
It makes it a
same
serious
flavor.
You know what? It makes it so much more serious that you'll look at Watchmen, both the movie and the HBO series, and go, nothing. Those are nothing compared to the director's cut of Watchmen. Thanks, Chad.
October
1st.
The leaves are starting to fall. Candy corn is back on the shelves.
I hate candy corn.
All right. A bunch of movies dropped, most of them not good. Let's go through them. From the lowest, News Rose Hotel.
Nope.
Plunkett and McLean.
Oh, that's with what's his face from Trainspotting.
Yeah, it's and Johnny Lee Miller and Robert Carlyle are both in it. I actually like this movie. And it also has Liv Tyler. Yeah, it's about two robbers who are and it kind of has a weird, like, kind of metal soundtrack for this movie that takes place in Victorian England. Go ahead.
La Enfance de Moras. No idea. It's a drama. Grey Owl would be the next highest ranking, and then we actually get to some that made millions. So let's talk about those instead. The next highest ranking is the documentary Siegfried and Roy, Masters of the Impossible. It was a pretty big documentary, made over $5 million in theatrical release.
This was pre-Tiger Bait.
It actually made more. I'm sorry, I skipped one. It made more than Happy Texas. Happy Texas. And then you get Mystery Alaska.
That was supposed to be a big film. Do you guys remember? It had that all-star cast.
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
Back, but it didn't go anywhere. That's written by David E. Kelly, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Mystery Alaska, by the way, lost out, and I think it was 5th at the box office because it got beat out because you know how it is. You want to see a movie and you're like, well, that's got Russell Crowe.
I typed in mystery and Mystery Men came up. Mystery Alaska didn't.
Take that, David E. Kelly.
Yeah. I love your show, so please don't hate us. Once again, Taylor Swift, you know where you stand, but David E. Kelly is gold. Anyway,
you fatties. Keep going, James.
Oh, it was directed by Jay Roach too, guys.
Yep. But you know how it is. You got Russell Crowe, but then you look over and you see a movie poster, and you know it's going to beat Mystery Alaska. You can look at it and say this is going to be an adventure where somebody goes into a land that's not their own, and they have to find a way to adapt. And there's these beings there that are so diametrically opposed to the hero but he's still going to find a way. And I'm speaking, of course, of The Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland, which made almost $12 million. Mystery Alaska made $8 million. Elmo and Grouchland. I don't know why. Grouchland.
What's next? Is that all of them?
James is no.
Oh my God! Go.
After that, you get Drive Me Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And the final movie of the weekend is, of course, Three Kings.
Now I saw that in the theater, and
nobody talks about Three Kings anymore, though.
They should. The ending's a little abrupt. The third act and the ending's a little. You guys remember the ending? It's just kind of a little abrupt. But that movie, man, that's a damn good movie.
Yeah,
that's David.
David O. Russell.
David O. Russell. That's a true story. David O. Russell and George Clooney got in a fist fight on the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because David O. Russell is notoriously ill-tempered.
Yes.
Worse than Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dog farted. Oh my God.
But you know what's better than Chad's dog farting? Three Kings. If you've never seen it, and it was a modest hit when it came out. So go
over $1 million. They made over $100 million.
And it was and that was another movie that you hadn't seen a movie that looked like that.
Yeah.
No.
Different.
I can't talk.
Well, that's okay. Chad,
our show just got better
on his dog's asshole juices. Now keep going.
October 8th. I'm going to warn you again, Joe. This weekend had about 12 releases.
Can we go through them quick?
Which two of which have "cry" in the title. So let's say El Abuelo. That means the grandfather.
You don't need to tell me.
5 Wives, 3 Secretaries, and Me. I don't know.
Hell,
just go.
Grizzly Falls, Julian Donkey Boy, La Ennui. The Mating Habits of the Earthbound Human.
Okay.
Naturally Native. Random Hearts. That would be
Harrison Ford. Yeah.
Superstar.
Yep. That's another one of them SNL pictures.
And the two with "cry" in the title, one of which people still talk about, the other one nobody mentions. Men Cry Bullets would be the one nobody talks about. Boys Don't Cry.
I saw that in the theater. I did see it later, and that's a picture that has a lot of weight to it.
I saw one, and the final movie I want to talk about, which was not the big hit the weekend. Random Hearts was the one that went on to make the most money. I didn't know Superstar made $30 million. Boys Don't Cry made $20 million. The one I want to talk about only made.
I'm surprised. Go ahead.
The one I want to talk about only made $6 million here in the States, or the colonies, if you will, but did okay other places and was directed by that Soderbergh fellow, the Limey. Tell him I'm coming. I love the Limey.
All right,
it's a good film.
Next week.
Real quick. Julian Donkey Boy is worth mentioning. It is directed by Harmony Korine. It stars Chloe Sevigny and Werner Herzog.
I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of Julian Donkey Boy, really?
I have never heard of it, and I know who.
And Joe has heard of every movie, so
and I know everyone involved. No, I just never heard of it.
It's about the effects of schizophrenia on a family. I saw it a long time ago. You
like it?
I don't. It's one of those ones. I know I watched it. I got something out of it. I can't remember anything about it, so I liked it, but I had to look it up real quick because I'm like, I know I've seen it.
Forgot it is what he was about to say. I like Spring Breakers. Did anybody else watch Spring Breakers? I enjoyed it.
I want to do a film called
whatever you say his name.
Let's see. I want to do Harriet Mule Girl. It's a film about somebody with short-term memory.
And by the way,
I want to do a film called Harriet Mule Girl. It's about a guy with short-term. Anyway.
I didn't. The Julian Donkey Boy stars Ewan Brimmer, which you know as Spud from Train Spotting and a bunch of other things. But yeah, no, it's highly worth checking out if you can find it. That being said, God, Harmony Korine. I forget who it was. There's a bad story about him. How I think he got banned from David Letterman because
from Letterman for going through their damn pocketbook.
Yeah, somebody's purse. He went through somebody's purse. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he had a running gag on Letterman coming on just because he's crazy. He struck. I don't know that he struck fame. Well, he didn't struck fortune, but he struck fame early.
Yeah,
like he was like 18, 19
when he did Gumbo.
No, before Gumbo, he wrote Kids.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he did Kids. That's right.
I don't think he directed Kids. He directed the other ones, but I'm pretty sure he wrote Kids. And I think
you're right. He wrote Kids. He didn't direct it. Yeah, you're right.
19.
I forgot about Kids.
He was young.
He directed. He wrote Kids and then directed Gumbo.
Next.
2 midweek releases real quick. Time Regained. Nobody cares. Beefcake is about me. Nobody cares. So October 15th, man, 99 may win because I'm looking at these going, we just didn't have anything like this. It's another mass release. I'll go through them quickly. The Boys, not to be confused with the great Amazon Prime show. A Girl Named Rosemarie, Joe the King, Masked, Same Old Song, Show Me Love, The Straight Story.
You can't skip past The Straight Story.
Straight Story is a really good movie.
I'm sorry, you told me to go through them quicker.
No, I know, but you said one that was good.
Yeah,
that's the way I like it. And Vastart. Now those are the films that made less than 10 million.
Wait, what was that last one, James?
Vastar, Vaastar. It's an action film.
Okay, pass it.
So let me go back and talk about the ones that made money. I'm sorry, I was trying to focus on the ones that made money that people might know, which is why I went by The Straight Story because they did not make.
Straight Story is a David Lynch film.
It's probably
that he made for Disney.
And it literally is the only straight story that David Lynch has done.
Well, maybe Elephant Man.
Elephant Man. You're all right. Elephant Man. As soon as I said Elephant Man, yeah.
No, here's a movie that was
bigger than Elephant Man.
Was a small hit. I remember people renting this on VHS, and I must admit, I don't know if I've ever seen it. The Omega Code.
No, but we talked to the director of the sequel.
Yeah, we did. Yep, I don't think I ever saw the first one.
It's one of the Christian films.
The next one is The Story of Us, romantic comedy.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
But all that lost out to another film that I think, again, didn't necessarily, it became bigger and more known as it played out because I remember people saying, you gotta go see it. And it's another one that had kind of that twist ending at the time. Fight Club.
Oh, I saw Fight Club in the
overrated.
Theater. What?
I'm joking. I love Fight Club.
What? That movie blew my fucking balls off when I saw it.
It did, man. It was.
I mean, it blew them off.
By the way, I want to go back and
can't you get me pregnant? And I was like, well, Fight Club and Motorhead Cinema at the University Cinema. I mean, my balls got blew off.
I don't think I've watched an audio commentary, listened to an audio commentary more on a DVD. It's between Fight Club and Clerks.
Yeah,
I've listened to those audio commentaries multiple times.
Man, there's a couple, by the way. We're going to talk about another movie that we've interviewed somebody that worked on in a minute, but we'll get to that in a second. So Fight Club comes out, and of course, if you're going to have to premiere a movie against Fight Club the next week, you know what you're going to lead with.
What?
You're going to lead with the greatest horror movie of all time that involves bats. It's called Bats.
No.
Oh man. All right. There was a guy named Doug, and Chad and I knew him, and the joke was we're going to make a sequel to Bats, only going to be called Owls. And for 2 years, it'd be like, you see that fucking owl? That was it. It didn't make any sense to anybody who wasn't around.
I did not realize Leon was in Bats. I knew Lou Diamond Phillips was. I didn't know Leon was.
That movie
made $10 million.
Factory. There was about a bunch of flops right around that time. There was a studio called the Bubble Factory. It's that Flipper, and a couple of other things, and they basically just killed the Bubble Factory.
But made $10 million. I mean, it was not the lowest weekend that the lowest maker that money maker that weekend was called Fest of the Best, and then Molly, and then Body Shots.
Yeah.
But here's the other movies that came out, and God, this is loaded. Beyond the Mat, the documentary.
Yeah, about wrestling.
It's a good documentary. I loved it.
It is.
I loved it.
Yeah,
that's one with Mick Foley and all the blood.
Yeah,
yeah. The Best Man, the romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing Out the Dead, we've talked about before.
Yep.
And 3 to Tango. Oh, Crazy in Alabama.
Isn't 3 to Tango? Is that Matthew Perry? Yeah, Nev Campbell, Matthew Perry, and Dylan McDermott. Yeah, a rich businessman's assumption that his new colleague is gay leads him to ask the man to keep an eye on his mistress.
Yeah,
that
happens to me all the time.
Oof.
Okay.
Everybody assumes I'm gay.
October 29th. We have interviewed 2 people that had movies come out this weekend.
All right.
I'm going to start though with the lower end here. Terror Firmer.
Yeah.
The Suburbans. Slaves of Hollywood.
That's us.
Man of the Century.
That's also
the Legend. The Legend of 1900, the musical. Music of the Heart.
Yeah.
And let's see, 50, the documentary. Dreaming of Joseph Lees. But the big movies that came out, there's 2 or 3 technically that came out. One is big because of as time went by. But we've interviewed Mr. Philip Huber, Being John Malkovich.
Yeah, it was as a cultural event. You're right. I'm telling you, 1999, man.
Yeah, $32 million is what it went on.
It really was. Apparently,
people talk, and I didn't see it till it came out on video. But somebody said, "How can you not have watched this?"
I didn't see it. And by the way, that's the one I'm going once again. It's another one I need to go back and revisit. I did not care for. I prefer adaptation tenfold to Being John Malkovich. Yes, that one.
See, I'm going to disagree with Joe on that one because I actually saw Being John Malkovich in the theater, and I love adaptation. I do. I actually just watched it last week again, and just something about Being John Malkovich and just the lunacy and bizarreness of it. I just love it.
Have we had a Spike Jonze film in a while?
No.
Has he done anything since Where the Wild Things Are?
Her.
I liked Her.
As did I. But I think that was his last, and I think that was 2013.
Ooh, yeah, I liked Her. Keep going, James.
Well,
we'll never get another movie like Being John Malkovich. Even though I don't care for it, I don't know that I will see another movie like that in my lifetime. Same thing with Fight Club, Blair Witch, Matrix. Boy, these things came through and you never seen anything like them.
The big movie that we've also interviewed a certain director of, House on Haunted Hill.
I tell you guys, I have a lot of fond memories. I was friends with a girl, and I took her there and ended up marrying her later to that movie. But I have seen some good horror films that play in theaters since then, but that is just a damn good horror film to go watch. And it's a great Halloween movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that. I mean, it just on all cylinders fires. Don't get me wrong. It is not American Beauty. But if it's Halloween and you're like, I want to go watch a Halloween picture, is there one better that you'd rather see than The House on Haunted Hill?
No, well, and here's the entire thing about it. I love the original Flipper. House on Hill.
Well, that has some scary parts in it. But Chad, you know what I mean? House on Haunted Hill is just it's
what I can say about the House on Haunted Hill is I love the original with Vincent Price.
Great cast.
But it doesn't try to be the one with Vincent Price.
It doesn't at all try to be the one with Vincent
Price.
I
love, and that's why it worked for me, because I was like, if they would have just tried to do a shot for shot, it wouldn't have worked. But
Jeffrey Rush.
Oh yeah.
Guys, we may have to sit down and watch this one again, because I don't think I've seen it in over 15 years.
Return to the House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah, I don't think
actually the sequel is not good, but it's not awful. Like
it's watchable. It's better than a lot of other sequels.
It's got Jeffrey Combs.
Do you all realize it's got a 5.6 on IMDb?
It's better than that. It's better than that.
What does The Haunting have? What does The Haunting have?
I will look. You all keep talking.
So I like that movie quite. Oh man, I know what's coming up in 2 weeks too. Another great movie you should watch on Halloween, but it didn't come out to November.
Haunting has a 5 even.
Oh no, it's way better than The Haunting.
Way better than The Haunting
because it has a great cast.
Haunting's pretty.
According to IMDb, it's got a 0.6 better.
I mean, Chad, it is not the best movie of all time. It may be that I just saw it at a certain time of my life that I just liked it, but I don't think so. You know, that's the first Dark Horse or Dark Castle film. And I still say it's the best one. There's scenes I like in other ones better, but the best Dark Castle overall film is The House on Haunted Hill. All right, James, what's the next one? And that's when they would do a horror film with a budget, by the way.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, so the other one...
It wasn't a $2 million, $4 million micro budget.
I'm not trying to dig it because I actually do like House on Haunted Hill. It's got a 31% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, I don't... It is not. That Jake, right, that's not for everybody.
The number one movie that, as far as over time, that came out that weekend that I didn't realize came out that weekend in America was Princess Mononoke. Or I can't say
Princess Mononoke.
Thank you. I always mess that up.
Next.
So I'm gonna read through these. The next weekend, first weekend in November, we get American Movie, Train of Life, Some Fish Can Fly, Sixth Happiness, Rosetta.
By the way, James, while you're looking that up, to make y'all feel better, The Haunting has a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
Haunting, by the way. Haunting has a pretty good cast. It's just
not it. It's got the wrong director. It's got the wrong script. It's just
Spawn has just so it has. You may also like Spawn has a % higher rating than The Haunting.
Boy, I don't know if that's The Haunting may be better than Spawn.
Yeah,
American
Werewolf.
I don't think that's fair. American Werewolf in Paris only has a 7%. Go ahead, James.
You ever seen it? It's awful.
It's terrible.
So the movie titles people may know would be that came out this weekend. The Bachelor, romantic comedy. The Bone Collector, which was a big hit, made $150
I've still never seen it.
And now they've done a TV show based on it. But The Insider is the other one, $60 million.
Insider's good.
Yeah.
That's the Spike Lee one, right?
Shot in Our Homes. No, isn't The Insider a Russell Crowe?
Oh, no, I'm thinking about Inside Man.
Yeah. That's the one that was Michael Mann.
The Insider, yeah. Actually, that's good too. But I didn't see it till years later.
Okay, so we get
next.
Let's see. I'm trying to. Yeah. Okay.
We're in November. We're getting to the home stretch, boys. It's almost 2 hours. Let's go.
November 9th, Clash direct independent film. Nobody cares. November 10th, Light It Up, A Moment of Innocence.
Yeah.
The Silence, but more importantly, making $163 million. Gotta Catch 'Em All is Pokemon the first movie.
Oh God,
that was that big of a hit.
Yeah,
I saw it in the theater, guys.
Really?
I took my nieces. Oh. They really were into Pokemon at that time, and we sit there and watch in the theater. I hated it.
The Pikachu one a couple years ago was watchable.
Detective Pikachu, yeah. November 12th. Y'all will want to talk about this one. I may have to step away for just a second, but Where's Marlowe? Nobody cares. The Messenger, the story of Joan Arc. I remember that people thinking that might be a hit. It made $14 million. It was not a huge hit.
It was not. That's directed by the guy. Damn it. Go ahead.
The stars, The Fifth Element.
Yep.
Felicia's Journey. Anywhere But Here, which made $18 million. But the one that won the weekend and would go on to make $43 million is this little film called Dogma.
Mm-hmm.
I figure y'all might want to pause to talk about Dogma for a second.
I didn't see Dogma until it was on video. I didn't get to see it in a theater.
I saw it in the theater.
I don't remember it playing it more. I don't think
it did. It didn't. It played in, and it probably didn't play where we're located now. I think it played in the big city where I was, traveled back and forth from. My friend from high school and I saw it. It is my favorite Kevin Smith film.
It is not my favorite Kevin Smith film. I'm curious to go. That's another one that I need to go back and read.
Chasing Amy.
Yeah, I got to give me a minute. Clerks or Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
Clerks has a special place in my heart just simply because that's one of those once in a generation where a filmmaker has a voice that speaks to you and you're coming in through at the same time. And
believe me, I'm the same way. That's why Kevin Smith always said, "We'll have." Regardless of his movie choices now, reboot and
the new He-Man looks good.
Oh God, I'm so excited about the new He-Man.
But it looks like Castlevania.
Yeah, it does. But Kevin Smith is one of my favorite directors. He's one of my favorite screenwriters. And honest to God, if I had to choose a career, I would have chose his. Right? He writes amazing comic books. But
you wouldn't have wanted to do all those stage shows and talk all the time. That's not
no, that's not me. I would bypass that and just do that stuff.
just do the dog. Just do. Yeah.
Do
the View Askew movies.
Yeah, the View Askew.
He talked about that there was a point in his life where he would have been happy to spend the next 30 years making the same damn movie over.
Yeah,
and
I'm glad. I mean, granted, he has branched off. I do love Red State. I didn't like it at first, but I do love it now. I love Tusk. I Cop Out has its moments, even though it is a terrible film.
It's just too long.
Yeah,
just too long.
And Bruce Willis was not. Again, somebody who's probably a bigger prick than Alec Baldwin would be Bruce Willis.
Yeah. No, but Dogma didn't speak to me, and I've often wondered is because I knew nothing of Catholicism.
And see, I didn't know much of Catholicism either, other than at the time I married a Catholic now, but I didn't know her then. But no, Dogma. I don't know why it spoke to me as much, even more so than Chasing Amy, because I saw Chasing Amy, and I'm like, this is it. This would be the movie I would want to make. But Dogma came along. I mean, I just love his take on religion, and Catholics hated it. They wanted it banned.
Oh, it's a different time.
And it was just, nobody in certain places would not show it because of that. It's kind of like the whole thing about Rob Zombie's first film. And then you watch it and you're like, what was the big deal?
Well, the story behind, and that's almost a whole episode altogether of us talking about House of a Thousand Corpses. The story of how it got released is almost better than the movie.
But the same thing with Dogma. One of the best parts about Dogma, and Kevin Smith, I've never been able to go back and find the news clip of it. He went to New Jersey and he actually posed as one of the protesters against Dogma, and he actually got interviewed by a news crew. And he flat out just ripped it, saying that you shouldn't see this movie. It's hilarious that he did that to his own film. And, like I said, granted, visually and artistically, it's not the best.
No one ever went to a Kevin Smith film for the visuals.
Yeah, no, but if you just want to laugh and then see a great story, a fun take on God, it's worthwhile. And for God's sakes, literally, George Carlin.
That's true. But what I need to do, because I really haven't watched them in probably a decade. I'm sitting there thinking, man, it's been a long time. They're over there with dust on them. I need to go back and watch them in order and see how I feel. I've probably seen Clerks more recently than anything else.
I've seen Clerks.
I even like Clerks too. I like Clerks too quite a bit as well.
And I've seen Clerks. I've watched Mallrats repeatedly, and I've watched Chasing Amy a bunch. Lately, I haven't watched Dogma, and it's kind of funny that I didn't realize it was 1999. I've been wanting to go back and watch it. I've actually got the DVD out, and I'm going to put it in as soon as I can find time to watch it.
I didn't realize it made 40-some million either.
I didn't either. I'm kind of shocked.
Dogma.
I thought it was.
What I was going to say, Dogma deserves. I love Dogma. Dogma. God, it's hard to say.
And Joe and I have a story about Dogma that's unrelated to this podcast, so I won't go into.
Here's a funny story.
It involves a girl.
Did you all?
Oh, damn it! Tell me the story.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Dogma.
Hold on. Which girl? Just give me a hint.
She was in your apartment, and she found out that I really like Dogma.
Jessica?
No. We'll talk about it after.
So Dogma, by the way, when y'all saw Dogma in the theater, did you have anybody walk out?
I didn't see it in the theater.
I never had one person. Because the people
I didn't know you didn't see it. I saw it in the theater.
No, I didn't see Clerks, Mallrats, or Dogma in the theater. I saw them all on video, and I'm almost positive because they never played anywhere near.
I saw Clerks and Chasing Amy on video. My friend had them. He got them from one of those. Again, back then you only had certain video stores that would carry those types of movies, and he had a video store that he went to that I couldn't access, and we watched them. But Dogma, it was actually in the theater. Me and him went to the theater to see it. And the only people in there were Kevin Smith fans. So nobody walked out.
I said, because I actually saw it twice. It's a true story. And the first time I didn't get to finish seeing it, but it wasn't because I was offended. Obviously, I was in there with a group of friends and we were enjoying it. And then all of a sudden I looked over at a friend of mine. He literally was doing like he. And I was like, "What? I'm watching the movie," and he finally goes, "Gotta go." I guess he was having some sort of allergic reaction to something he had earlier. Had to go to the hospital.
Oh my God.
And he literally, but what was funny was we get out to the car and he's driving to the, he drives because he drove. So he's driving himself to the ER. We're going to, and he said, the only thing that makes me mad about this is they're going to think that I was offended. And then we went back and watched it again later. So I paid to see Dogma twice in theaters. You're welcome, Kevin Smith. Anyway, yeah. But it was so funny because the only time somebody walked out, is it the Golgothan or whatever? The poop.
Yeah, the Golgothan.
Yeah. Somebody actually went, well, that's going too far. And I'm like, oh wait, so you honestly think they crucified people and they didn't, like they were hung up there for days and nobody relieved their bowels or nothing?
I can't.
And you're okay with Buddy Jesus, but you're not okay with the Golgothan.
He wasn't sent here to give us the willies, Chad.
I can't do the line. Only Chris Rock can do the line. I'm not even going to attempt to do the line, but it still has one of my funniest lines. I'll just give you the edited version. Knew him, still owes me X amount of money.
Yeah.
Now
cut a bunch of the stuff out of that. One of my favorite lines of all time in cinema history is in Dogma, and that's it.
Yeah. And then later on down in that same scene, they go, tell us something that nobody else knows. You masturbate constantly. Well, everybody knows that. Sometimes you do, thinking of guys.
And speaking of which, what was funny to me was the amount of people that were offended because Alanis Morissette was gone. I'm like, that's what got you? Okay. Sure.
And
second time Alanis Morissette came up this episode.
And I got to talk about the DVD special edition that I have. And that's one of the best parts about the DVD special edition is sometimes he has a lot of Easter eggs on it, but between playing the movie and going to special features, this old woman comes up and just belittles you for going there and tells you how you're going to burn in hell.
I got to go back out and check that out. I don't remember that.
Oh, it's great.
Oh, the days of DVDs.
And then before
an episode about this later on, I haven't pitched it to the boys.
And by the way, guys, we're officially at 2 hours.
I know.
We'd go. I just want to briefly mention, because as James goes through these, sometimes I'll look them up. You mentioned one called Felicia's Journey. I got to see it now because not only is it a Bob Hoskins film that I haven't seen, it's directed by Adam Egoyan. I can't pronounce his name. I butcher it.
The guy that hangs out with Norm Macdonald?
No, I don't. No, not Adam Egan. This is Atom, Atom.
Oh, he directed what's the one with the sex movie?
There's Chloe. He directed Chloe, the Captive,
The Sweet Hereafter.
Yeah,
that's not
so.
Oh, damn it.
If it's Bob Hoskins, and there's a Bob Hoskins film I have not seen, I've got to check this out. So anyway, go ahead, James. Let's get this done.
He also directed The Captive.
I said The Captive, you deaf fuck.
What?
Nothing.
He directed The Captive?
Just stop.
Okay. Oeuvre. Anyway. So we get that Dogma, 43 Man. Midweek releases, 42 Up documentary and Liberty Heights, $3 million. I don't know.
I've heard of it.
November 18th.
Barry Levinson film, I think.
November 18th, which is, I guess, a Thursday.
Stars Adrian Brody.
An early release of on November 18th, Mansfield Park would go on to make $4.7 million.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably what Joe was waiting for. And oh my God, how did I just see one movie this weekend? I saw all of these eventually. November 19th, of course, the big movie everybody was talking about was the imported Bollywood film Dilagi. But there was 3 other films that came out, the lowest grossing of which was a Tim Burton horror film called Sleepy Hollow. God,
that was the lowest grossing one. It was a hit.
Yeah, let me tell you the other ones. It made $207 million domestically. Yes, huge movie. It came out against The World Is Not Enough.
Okay, yeah.
Boo.
$361 million.
I prefer Sleepy Hollow.
I do.
Actually, I watched both of them. I'd watch them again. And The World Is Not Enough has one of the better late 20th century Bond songs. That being said,
that's all that movie's got going for it. And that Pierce Brosnan. Keep going.
That failed to the number 1 movie that came out this week. I didn't know all 3 of these came out. Toy Story 2. $511 million.
Well, Pixar did something that Disney was never able to do. They made a sequel that was, I don't know that Toy Story 2 is as good, but they made a sequel that is damn near close. That was, you watched it and go, oh, I didn't know I needed that sequel, but I definitely needed that sequel. Same thing with Toy Story 3. Not so much for 4, but can we talk about Sleepy Hollow for a second?
No,
I love to talk about it. You want me to get my action
dreams growing up, and people know me, I wanted to be a filmmaker, and of course I failed at every moment of it. But I would have loved to have done I had a dream. I had the whole opening of what I would have done with Legend of Sleepy Hollow shot in my head. And I went to see that opening weekend and I thought, well, I couldn't have done that any better.
Yeah.
I mean, every once in a while, there's certain things that I would have loved to have done where I have said out loud to myself, I think I could have done that better. But Sleepy Hollow, I know he turned it into kind of a slasher film, but at the same time, that's got a great cast. It's got a great opening. It's got great music shot. It's one of my, there he is. I've got mine up here on the wall, James. If you're listening to us, James has got the Headless Horseman, Christopher Walken dolls. We can't hear you, James.
James, your mic is turned off.
I've got one in the box too, but this is my one for playing at my desk at work.
I need to get one for playing. I didn't think about that.
I actually have 3 of them because somebody got me one. It was considered a variant because it comes with the skull head too, but there were some that had the skull head on in the box.
Oh,
so I have one with this pose still in the box, and I have one with people gave them to me.
They were from McFarlane Toys. I'm looking up. You could get Ichabod, the Headless Horseman, and the Chrome, which was the old witch that lived in the.
Yeah, I wish they would have made a Christina Ricci one, but that's just for me.
But just for you, she's never doing the show now.
Katrina Van Tassel.
I saw Sleepy Hollow, man. I loved it.
I loved it. Yeah.
I saw it probably 3 times. It was my movie that year. I mean, where it was somebody I can remember. Let's see, that was November.
Yep. Boy, that's even got Christopher Lee in it.
Michael
as the judge, right?
Yeah, he's the judge. He's the one that sends Ichabod to.
And of course, and she was in every. Who plays his mother? Tim Burton.
Lisa Marie.
Marie.
I mean,
who is beautiful still.
God, yes.
Everything about that movie. The tone of it.
Even though she pretty much just avoided Chad and I just so she could make her way. And who could blame her to go over to Chris Sarandon, who, by the way, is also still quite fetching at 70-something, Chad.
Yeah.
I'm not gay, but that dude looked good in his 70s.
He looks better than I'm going to.
Oh,
if I make it to 70.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
a lot better than you.
Yeah, no, and you know the thing with Tim Burton, you can judge some of his choices later on now in the last, I don't know.
But that was his follow-up to Mars Attacks, which was a huge bomb, right? I think
yes, it was Mars Attacks, and then 3 years later we got Sleepy Hollow, and then 2 years after that we got Planet of the Apes.
And then later we got Big Eyes.
I still haven't seen it. I can't make myself watch it.
It's a true story, right?
It's not memorable. Did you see it, James?
Yeah, I mean, because it's based on a true story, right? It's one where I'm like, Tim Burton must just like the art.
He must like the art. It doesn't even look like a Tim Burton film.
Because I watched a documentary, or I watched something about it, and basically the gist of it, and the reality is that the woman did the paintings and the man claimed all the credit.
Yeah, but Tim Burton, we're never. Is there ever going to be another Tim Burton? I don't think there is.
No, probably not. Even for the good and for the bad, it's all been slightly interesting. Most of it, 80% of it has been at least interesting. And
I agree with that. No.
I love Sleepy Hollow. It's one of the first. It's on my wall. It was one of the first movie posters, the original movie posters I ever owned. I think it's actually number 2 or 3 when I started my one sheet collection. Just a fantastic movie. Next.
All right, let's go. I'm getting tired. And my dog's still farting.
So those 3 movies came out and in total made over $1 billion. which now $1 billion film, but this would have been rare that you would have had a weekend where 3 movies came out and they blew up that big. The next weekend, there's a horror action film release that actually goes on to gross more than Sleepy Hollow, which I did not know this about this. End of Days would go.
End of Days made more than Sleepy Hollow. I remember it being not a hit.
$212 million.
It is not a good movie.
No, it's not. I saw that in the
theater.
I saw it in the theater too, but it has some pretty scenes, but it's not a good movie.
I can't tell you anything about the film. It's got a great soundtrack.
It may have.
It's got Eminem. It's got a great. I mean, if you like horror, thumping, rap, and
everybody was taking advantage.
Yeah,
everybody was taking advantage of the 1999 Y2K Return of the Century. I mean, everybody was just.
So End of Days was a big movie. Other movies that came out: Flawless, which was the drama, Ride with the Devil, the Western, and then Tumbleweeds. And then there was a midweek release of 2x4 and Spanish Fly.
Okay. What about Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
We're into December, y'all. Let's do this.
Almost over. You can turn us off now. What?
They turned us off. They turned us off right around American Beauty.
The only film that is that defined what was going on in most of the 90s for most people, Virtual Sexuality, comes out December 3rd. I don't know. Hell's Kitchen, not a hit. Agnes Brown. Man, none of these went on. Holy Smoke.
Stick in my mouth while I listen to him.
Holy Smoke. YouTube, you can switch Anybody know about Holy Smoke? It looks like a bad cigar. It looks like a prop cigar. And the big movie
even better.
The 2 big movies, Sweet and Lowdown, romantic comedy, and The End of the Affair.
Woody Allen.
The End of the Affair was $10 million is what all it made, but it was the drama. December 8th, Cradle Will Rock.
Oh, okay. So can I talk about this one for a second?
Yeah.
Let me take it out of my mouth.
And the Cradle
will rock. So for someone who's obsessed with Orson Welles, or I don't know if I'm obsessed, but I'm very interested. It's about the Mercury Theater. They were doing in New York. Part of the FDR New Deal was that they had to also put actors to work, and they would do community theater. And Chad, back me up or whatever when I get something wrong here. Orson made a lot of money when a lot of people were broke doing a lot of this, between this and radio and whatnot. He made more money there than he did in the movies. Okay.
Yeah.
Radio was huge. So they had the Mercury Theater, and they were going to do this musical play called The Cradle Will Rock that's basically about socialism, and they weren't allowed to do it. And then they went ahead and did it. The movie's about them going ahead and doing it anyway for at least one showing, and them leading up to not being able to do it. And so if you ever get the chance, I think it's a pretty good kind of a little bitty, I don't know, it's directed by Tim Robbins, but it's a small window into what a little time period in America was at that point. Sorry. Just want to let everybody know that I don't think anybody ever remembers that movie, so I recommend it.
I need to watch it because that's one of the things. If you read Victoria Price's biography of Vincent Price, she does a little bit of the window into the time when Vincent Price worked for the Mercury, and there's some comments about Vincent and Orson. And I'm like, God, that would have been a great room to be.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them talking back and forth?
And evidently not always getting along.
No shit.
Yeah, which it would be. I mean, and that's the entire thing. But anyway, so that came out.
John Houseman was there too.
Yeah. And I want to get into this other weekend because it's another great weekend where movies that people still.
I didn't know my microphone was off. We do need to talk real quick about Cradle Will Rock. Angus McFadden is Orson Welles.
He's
phenomenal.
Really good at it.
Yeah, and then there's Hank Azaria, Joan Cusack, John Cusack, Carrie Elways, Bill Murray.
And it's directed by Tim Robbins.
And it's directed by Vanessa Redgrave, Susan Sarandon, John Turturro, Bob Balaban, Jack Black, people. The cast in this is phenomenal.
You want me to keep on talking about it? I can. Have you seen it, Chad?
I haven't seen it in so long. I've got
Paul
Giamatti's in it. Anything with Paul.
Hank Azaria is the guy who's slightly crazy who wrote the musical, The Cradle.
Mark Blitzstein. Yeah, so we got to see this movie again. Anyway, go ahead.
December 10th. Here's the movies that come out again. I'll start with the ones people might not remember. Cherry, romantic comedy. The War Zone, Wallowitch and Ross, Miss Julie, Jerome, Diamonds, and the ones that people will know. And God, I saw 2 of these 3 in theaters. Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
Saw it in theater too.
Hold on, let me. I did not know
liked
this.
It.
This was another one that won the Oscar. It did not win as many as American Beauties, but it did. American Beauties. That's the follow up that all right. The Cider House Rules.
Yeah.
Which I actually really appreciate. And by the way, this is where we first met, or where a lot of people first met. It's not the first thing. Tobey Maguire, who would go on to be some sort of spider human.
Yep.
But I didn't know this. Did you know Deuce Bigelow made more money than the Cider House Rules?
What did?
Deuce Bigelow out-earned the Cider House Rules, which is probably why we didn't get a sequel to Cider House Rules.
The sequel. It's not a good movie. For some odd reason, I enjoyed it.
I do. I saw it in theaters, and it's literally gave me. I will defend, and I appreciate. I saw a stand-up comedy. I do like. Shoot, why am I blanking on his name? Deuce Bigelow. I like that actor. I mean,
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. I want to say Ron for some reason. I do like Rob Schneider. I don't know why. It's one of those things that I can't tell you why, but he's entertaining to me. I think it's because I could understand every character he's played.
I think the only movie Rob Schneider's, not criticizing you at all, but I think the only Rob Schneider film I've actually liked is Benchwarmers.
And I think Benchwarmers has a place in my heart because I saw it in the Dollar Theater with that lady.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna stick that in his mouth, is he? Ma'am, you walked into a Rob Schneider.
You'd be so pissed if we hadn't saw that at the Dollar Theater.
Oh, I know, but it changed once again the gestalt of the film. But the movie that came out and crushed both of those, and also got some Academy Award buzz, The Green Mile. Man, 99.
I saw that in the theater so sick. I was running a fever. And I was crying at the end of that movie.
I want to also, this actually was released on a Saturday, so those were all came out. They released one film on the Saturday, and it's because it was an international film. And I need to at least mention it because 2 or 3 years later, y'all will have to correct me, but it got remade as an American film and starred Ted Raimi. Ringu.
Yep.
The original film was released, which we know is The Ring.
Yeah.
And that came out, and the non-dubbed version of it would go on to make $24,000, which is pretty good for you didn't dub your film.
Yep.
December 17th. I'll start from the bottom. Man, there's a lot that came out then too. Dahek, A Burning Passion, no idea. Anaquin Simpatico, which would almost make $1 million. But let me get into the ones that people may know, some of which didn't go on to do too well. Sunshine. Topsy Turvy.
Topsy Turvies is about what are the rank them in? It's not ranking in bass. What's the famous musical duo?
Rodgers and Hammerstein. There's a bunch of them. Gilbert and Sullivan.
It's about Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah, there you
go. Yeah, it stars Jim Broadbent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's about Gilbert and Sullivan, though, right, Chad? Are you looking at it?
Yeah, Gilbert and Sullivan.
Right.
So there's 4 movies that made money that people may remember. Anne and the King, which is The King and I remake.
Mm-hmm. Boo.
And then Bicentennial Man.
Made
$87 million.
All that in the theater too.
Man, Robin Williams, Jacob the Liar, and there's too much going on there. Magnolia.
You saw that in the theater?
Won't you save me? I downloaded that. There was a thing called Napster, kids. I later bought the album.
I haven't seen Magnolia in a long time. I wonder how I'd feel. At the time, most people my age were just shitting on it because it's so long, but I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too. And yeah, I kind of want to watch it now to see if it still holds up.
It did not win the weekend because it got burned alive by a film called Stuart Little. $298 million.
That's insane.
You forget that Stuart Little was such a hit. It's a very well made kids film. That's probably the first place I was aware of Hugh Laurie.
Oh man.
But I don't know that anybody talks about Stuart Little now.
God, this is so the next week we have a Tuesday release, which I guess they moved to Tuesday because Wednesday was already it's because of Oscar bait.
Yeah, and Christmas.
Yeah. December 21st, we got Girl Interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
which is, if you've not seen it, it's pretty
A
solid
lot
cast.
of people love that movie. That is something I think still is talked about.
It's solid cast. But December 22nd, and I did go see this. I saw one of these. You can guess which one. We go on to make $47 million, Man on the Moon.
Yep.
God, I love them. I've got the poster over there on my wall.
All that in the theater. That's all I was doing.
December 22nd also, though, gave us Any Given Sunday.
It's all that in the theater. Holy shit. What in the hell was I doing? Because I saw all these in the theater. I was doing nothing but going to movies.
It is going to get weirder. December 24th, we get, and of course, this would be the ultimate Oscar bait, Last Pitch, also Holiday. Mm-hmm. All these movies came out. I'm going to make fun of one first, and it's not going to mean anything to anybody. Pink Narcissus, I can't say it. Play It to the Bone. Anybody want to talk about Play It to the Bone?
I enjoy Play It to the Bone.
That's the semi-sequel to White Men Can't Jump, right?
Well, not kind of. It's Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. They're friends.
Oh, no. I'm thinking of Money Train.
Yeah. Yes, that's Money Train. That's not. Play It to the Bone is
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's Woody Harrelson and Antonio Banderas. They're on their way out boxers. They're old. They're way past their prime. They're fighting like these schlocky fights. But somebody says, hey, if you come to Vegas, you will be the opening fight for this big match. And they're best friends, but they have to fight each other. So it's them on the road talking about the boxing. It's a road comedy basically. Yeah. And they're going to Vegas to fight each other. It's a solid film.
Forgive me, but I think it's written and directed by the same guy who did Bull Durham.
I want to say you're right.
I can't think of his name right now. He also directed one of James's favorite movies, Cobb.
Yeah, Cobb.
Ron Shelton.
Shelton. I couldn't.
That's right. Yes.
And
by the way,
I love Tin Cup. He also wrote and directed Tin Cup.
Me and James have that in common. Cobb's one of my favorite films as well. I really recommend Play It to the Bone. It's especially because Antonio Banderas and Woody Harrelson, two great actors playing off one another, and then you add Lola Davidovich.
Lolita Davidovich.
What did I say?
It may be Lola. I'll just say
no. It's Lolita. It's Lolita Davidovich.
She's in another great Ron Shelton film called Blaze, about Blaze Starr, the famous striptease lady.
And by the way, Joe, Play It to the Bone also has Ada Turturro in it. From The Sopranos.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier. Go, James.
Go. All right.
Get us out of December so we can end this thing.
I've got to mention this one because I've got to make fun of it. And I'm going to mention somebody that's never going to watch this show, but I'm going to say it because it literally, I literally would just stop and say the title of this movie just to make this person angry because they wanted to see it so bad. And I made fun of them for wanting to see it. Sorry, Darshik, if you're listening. Snow Falling on Cedars.
Oh,
it's based on a novel. But I remember we were watching trailers for different movies and she goes, "Oh, are you going to go see that?" to me. And I'm like, "Oh, it's a romantic drama." You say, no, I'm not going to. And she would be, "Oh, but you don't know what it's about." And I was like, so literally she would walk in, she was an RA with me and she would walk in and be like, "Oh, never mind, you should go." And I literally would just look at her and it was my end to every conversation we had. I'd literally just shake my head and say, "Snow Falling." Did it for 2 years. Still have never seen Snow Falling on Cedars. Evidently it made $14 million, but that was about it. Now, that being said, I do want to mention one because it's probably one of the best adaptations ever of my favorite Shakespeare work, Titus. With
God, you've never seen Titus?
I've never seen it.
Oh my God.
With Tony Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
It is phenomenal.
It is. So it's based on Titus Andronicus, which is my favorite Shakespeare. It used to be considered one of Shakespeare's quote unquote dirty plays. It was considered not as good as his other one. It's now those are getting reevaluated and people are quote unquote rediscovering them.
And Joe, you've got to see, there's one scene, and James knows what I'm talking about. There's one scene that will truly haunt you.
I would love to watch it. I put it on my queue.
If you
and it's directed by Julie Taymor too.
Titus Andronicus, the actual play is.
You're not going to go into. Don't tell us the story.
No, it's one of Shakespeare's most brutal plays, and there is limbs lost and all, and how they did it on stage. Then, if you go back and look at the history of how he staged it, it was brutal to perform. Anyway, so there's that. We get that. So I've done Play It to the Bone. So what are the big movies that come out then? Oddly enough, Cirque du Soleil released The Journey of Man as a musical. It made $27 million. Nobody talks about that one anymore. Other ones based on books, Frank McCourt's Angela's Ashes wasn't a huge hit, but it made $13 million and got some Oscar buzz.
Yeah.
Most important to me, though, are two other films. Titus is one I want to talk about because I love Titus. But the ones that went on to make quite a bit of money and still are talked about today, the best Star Trek, non-Star Trek film, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
$90 million.
Holy shit! That came out that late in the year. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, they had to get it out for the Oscar.
Yeah. We should have went to Snape. Why did I forget Alan Rickman's name? But the other one, which has had tons of sequels and things like that followed the other books in the series, The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh.
I prefer Galaxy Quest.
Well, they're two very different films.
I watched The Talented Mr. Ripley later, and then I watched they made another one where...
What's the one with John Malkovich?
John Malkovich played him later, and they're both good.
Well, I was about to say, there's a series of books. They're based on...
Right. Yeah. I can't remember what the other one is, but they're both good, actually.
And then December 29th, at the very end of the year, we get 3 films, most of which people aren't going to remember, but there is one I want to mention. The Third Miracle, Mr. Death, and The Hurricane. The Hurricane's the one people might remember.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington playing a Bob Dylan song.
That was the that was the one where he was supposed to win the Oscar.
Yeah.
And Kevin Spacey upset him that year. Remember?
Yeah.
That was
Kevin Spacey upset a lot of people.
Oscars. He won for Glory. It's the best supporting, but he had never won the best actor. And he wouldn't win it. Training Day his first Oscar for leading actor.
Did he win for Glory?
He won for best supporting actor. That's what I just said.
Yeah. I wasn't listening.
I know. I literally just had all that come right out.
Titus
win for Glory.
Titus, really good, huh, James?
Did he win for Glory?
Titus, I tell you,
he won for Glory. Did he?
Titus, I tell you, I mean, what he does to his own daughter, I tell you, that is. Whew.
So no. Unfortunately, Denzel didn't win for Hurricane. He did win for Training Day, and I don't know if you know this, Joe. He did win for Glory.
I heard something, but it was only best. I may have already said it. All right, guys. Well, that's been 1999. See, I told you, a lot of people out there talk about 99 and the importance of the year, and I think,
man, after going through it.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
There's a lot of movies in there that we'd never seen. They're like before, and I don't know that I've seen since.
And a lot of people remember Star Wars, but I mean, honestly, matter of fact, there's a documentary that came out last year about how important Galaxy Quest was.
Yep.
And I watched it, and I'm like, God, it was. It really was. I mean, it's.
Yeah. Oh, Star Wars was just a bleep on everything else that came, or one of, as far as cultural impacts. The Matrix, Fight Club.
I would say Star Wars: The Phantom Menace was no Matrix.
And by the way, Galaxy Quest is a pure example of how marketing can ruin a film.
Yes.
That's what Galaxy. Unfortunately, that's the category that Galaxy Quest falls in. It is a classic. It is a great film, but marketing can kill it.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our 14 hours of 1990.
Oh my God.
Some of these weekends, though, they released 14 movies. They don't do that anymore. Now,
well, that's because they're all on streaming.
Well, but the flip side of that, though, is, I mean, we would look at some of these weekends and somebody would have budged. Somebody would move. That happens much more now. I mean, we see it with Marvel movies. Marvel announces they're claiming, June 10th or whatever, and then another company will, we're moving away from June 10th. We'll reschedule ours 2 weeks later. I don't think we saw that much in 1999.
No, probably not. Now, I knew it was important, but going through the date to date, it was fascinating. So let's wrap it up. This has been Bonehead Weekly. We'll be back next week with 1999.
Not this. We will not, but we'll take a break.
We've got a couple of interviews coming up. We hope you all enjoy them.
Yeah. with 1999. We're interviewing
That's the subject. Yeah, basically, it's 1990. Get your ass in here and you get in here and you explain that Y2K shit to us and what you was thinking.
Father Time doesn't get in here and told us some stuff.
Oh, all right. Good night.
Uh-huh.